All right, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Night Live on the 10 Horse Monty Fishing YouTube channel. Got a good show tonight. One of my favorite guests that hasn't been on here for quite a while, Matt Stefan's going to join us. JB will be on here in a little bit, starting a little bit early. Just wanted to get on here and stretch a little bit, touch base with everybody, see how everybody's holding up in this winter polar vortex snow of 2026. The good thing about this is the great melt of 2026 has begun and couldn't come sooner. I'm tired of it. I mean, I like snow a little bit. My wife was like really praying for snow and pretty much blaming on her. We got it for sure. But now I'm tired of it. You know, the lakes are pretty much locked up. I think the only thing that's open is possibly Baldwin Lake, Lake of the Egypt. I think it's still open. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Anybody that's out there listening, have they got any reports on some of these lakes to see if they are open or locked up? But I got Thursday off, so it's supposed to be like 35 for the high. It's going to be like 16 in the morning, but I'm going to try to get over there for, I don't know, a couple hours. And then starting this weekend, and we got a nice little warm up. We got some, 50s and 60s in the future cast, which that will melt all this stuff. We need a really good rain. If we had just a 1 inch of rain, it would knock all this slush off, kind of wash the streets and get rid of some of that ice melt that's covering everything. It's funny, I've been seeing some people like washing their cars, and they come out of the car wash and everything looks really, really pretty. And then, it's like 10 minutes later, they've got all that slush and that salt and stuff all over their vehicle. But people are just ready to get winter behind us and move in a warmer direction. And I'm ready to. I'm just, I'm ready to wet a line. I don't do the ice fishing thing. It makes me too freaking nervous. I've done it before, but it's like, I know where I want to be, and I just don't have the guts to get out there. I remember in my subdivision, there was a little small pond, it was like a 3 or 4 acre pond. And there was one really juicy brush pile out there, and it was about 50 yards off the bank. And I'd get about halfway there, and I'd start getting nervous. And so I'd just end up drilling a hole in the ice and catching a few bluegill. But I knew that if I just went a little bit further, there was a brush pile there. And I was just always hesitant to get out there. It's just, I don't know, people that live up north, they have a lot more experience out on the ice. And us down in the kind of the middle section of the Midwest, it's not something that happens every year, although it's becoming a little bit more common. And I know the ice is super thick right now. I mean, it's got to be, 7, 8 inches thick. And I think, 3, 4 inches is pretty much safe ice, but it still makes me nervous. I just can't relax. And so I don't do it. I just sit around the house and edit videos and get cabin fever. But I think this weekend is going to be different. Sunday's supposed to be looking good. There's a Super Bowl Sunday, but if I can get away, I could care less about the Super Bowl. I'm going to be out on the water casting because I would much rather be slinging a bait around trying to catch a fish than watching a bunch of big dude bang helmets. Don't mean to offend anybody, but plus my Steelers are out. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. They didn't make it. So, whatever. It's all good. Yeah, so we're going to be doing the $25 Baitworks gift card giveaway sometime during the stream. And as always, as we go through the live stream, shoot your questions out there and we'll do our best to answer. I see Matt in the background, and we'll bring him in if he's ready. You ready to come in here and talk a little fishing, buddy? All right. What's going on?
Gabe, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a long time. It's good to see your face.
Hasn't been that long, has it?
It seems like it. It just seems like it's been forever. I don't know. Too long.
I'm disappointed the Steelers aren't in it too.
I know. I'm bummed. I mean, I don't follow a whole lot of football because I just don't have the time to sit down. I've probably watched over this whole season, I've probably watched maybe a full game's worth of 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, but you know how it is, creating content, fishing, family. It's just very rarely do we have the time to just sit down for 2 or 3 hours at a time.
Yeah, it really is one of those things where, I mean, the last several years, I won't say I've gotten away from sports in general, but I really have. But I will say Like I've got one boy who's 9 right now, and it doesn't matter the sport. He's all about it. And he really enjoys watching the football, and that kind of got me a little bit more into it. And my team is the Bears and the Packers, and both of them were good. So, you know, when your teams are doing well, you have more vested interest, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, if we didn't have 24 inches of ice on the lakes around my house right now, I would probably be going fishing on Sunday as well.
I was going to ask you about that. What it's looking like up there.
Yeah,
pretty solid.
Dude, I had a buddy call me up today. I just put a frozen pizza in for lunch, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm on the lake just down from the house." He's like, "You should come out and hang out for an hour and a half." And I was like, "Ah, man, I'm not like ice fishing's not my jam. I mean, I don't mind it, but it's not like anything terrible." But I mean, it was a nice day. It was 22 degrees and it was sunny and not windy. And I was like, you know what? I've been so eaten up with like just working and doing things that I generally need to, you know, just staying busy with whatever it is, that I was like, it actually sounds fun to go kind of just hang out with a buddy for an hour and a half. And we went out there. I was like, you know, so up here you drive on the ice, and I haven't driven on the ice yet this year, and I haven't really paid much attention to any of the ice conditions. So when I talked to him, I was like, "Hey, I assume I can drive out there, right?" And he just kind of laughed. He's like, "Yeah, you can drive out here." So I get there, and it's like a city on the water, you know, all the shacks and cars everywhere, and we drive out there, and I'm like, "How much ice do we got?" And he takes the ice scooper, or the scooper that you use to scoop out the holes, has a measuring thing on the handle, and he stuck it down, and we were right at about 23 inches of ice. So I was like, yeah, that's plenty safe to drive on, but it's a lot of ice right now.
So what is the perimeters for driving a vehicle out on ice? How much do you need?
Well, so for me, I mean, if it's less than a foot, I don't want to do it. I think guys will do it when there's like, I think they'll do it. Like, I think 8 inches is what they consider safe. But I'm even driving out there today, it just always makes me uncomfortable. You know, you put the windows down, you drive slow, and you take the seatbelt off. But while you're doing it, there's always like cracks in the, you know, you hear sounds that are always like a little unnerving. But again, I mean, it's a way of life up here. Like, it's not necessarily a way of life for me, I guess, because I'm already going south. But I mean, people like live in those ice shacks, and every year the ice shacks get more and more like what I would consider an RV. I mean, you can go into some now, and there's like big screen TVs and kitchenettes, and you know, it's not necessarily like you're just sitting in a box like it kind of used to be. Now it's more of a you know, I don't want to say bougie, but it feels kind of bougie.
Yeah, no, it is. I went to Mille Lacs. It's been a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, up there, it's a whole way of life up there. Like,
yeah,
people live on the ice.
Like 31-foot travel trailers with holes cut in the living room, and the same thing you're talking about: satellite TV and fireplaces and everything. Man, it's just it's something else. I was talking to my buddy Mike Marfell we went to the Marion Sports Show, just, you know, an hour and a half away from here. And he used to go up in the Northlands, like up in, I don't know, Minnesota area. And they do snowmobile riding. And there was a whole group of those guys, you know, just tearing through the woods and stuff. And they stopped in this open area, and they had a little chat. There was like 5 dudes chatting. And about 10 minutes into the conversation, Mike's like, "Hey guys, why don't we continue this conversation on land?" And the guys are like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Why do you think there's no trees and no grass where we're sitting at currently?" And they're like, "I never thought about that." And he's like, "Yeah, we're sitting on a lake. So let's have this conversation in an area where we may not fall through and all die." And I'm with him on that, man. I mean, that makes total sense.
If you live up here, you gotta appreciate the winter and have winter activities that keep you busy. Because I mean, the reality is we freeze over in November and thaw out right around April 1st. So I mean, you're looking at 5 months worth of I mean, legitimate winter and ice conditions. So whether it's ice fishing or snowmobiling or cross country skiing, downhill skiing, you know, it's snowshoeing. It doesn't matter. You gotta find something that satisfies you during the winter. And I honestly, like, I don't necessarily have that, but that's because I fish right up to ice up, which is generally Thanksgiving-ish, middle of November. And then, you know, you got a month and a half of holidays. And then for me, my season starts, right? Somewhere in Florida or Texas in January. And, you know, at that point, I'm driving back and forth for the next 6 months. So it's not something where I feel like I have to have a winter thing. But what you find are the people that live up here generally have something they're very passionate about, to the point where they actually a lot of people prefer winter more than they do summer, which is crazy to me, because I love the summers up here are just gorgeous. So to have somebody that just prefers the winter is crazy to me, but that's how passionate they are about their activities.
Yeah, there is something peaceful about the winter time, especially when you got some snow on the ground, and if the wind's not blowing, you know, like 20 or 30 out of the north, it's like quiet. It kind of deadens the sound, and it's just I enjoy it a little bit. But I work outside, you know, I'm a letter carrier for the post office, and it's like you got there. I was having a conversation with a guy today. It's like a lot of times the people that like winter or summer have office jobs, so they're not out in it quite as much. You know, you talk to a guy that's a roofer, ask him how he likes summer. He's probably not like it too much. So it's just something you deal with. But I do enjoy it a little bit. I like the fishing around here. You know, everything's pretty much locked up right now. But a couple weeks ago,
you got to have almost like ice fishing conditions, don't you?
Yeah, everything's locked up. We've probably got, I don't know for sure because I haven't poked a hole in the ice, but we've got to have like 8 inches of ice, because it's been sub freezing for the better part of 2 weeks. You know, there's a couple days just barely jumped over freezing, but we've had a lot of like single digit nights with wind, and everything's covered with like 10 inches of snow.
So, you're probably, I mean, you could be doing it if you wanted to do it. Go get 100%. Yourself an auger, get some tip ups, and get out there. And you can, the surprising thing is the bass actually largemouth bite really well under the ice. Like, they're pretty aggressive. Yeah. That's why, like, with the, I mean, I didn't see what conditions were like on Gunnersville right now, but you see all the social media posts with the Elite Series guys that are down on Gunnersville, and they're all, you know, they're all putting up their stories that have, you know, skim ice here and there. And I'm like, man, I think those fish are going to bite good. Like, I think they're going to crack them down there.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think so. That lake is so full of quality fish. It's definitely on an upward trend right now. So I think they're going to be fine. I mean, the toughest thing is going to be able to, you know, being out there and staying focused with the colder conditions, but I think it's going to be good for them, you know.
It's going to be like 65 by the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, most of the coast,
is it really? It's supposed to be that warm?
Yeah.
That's a bummer. I was hoping we'd see guys like breaking through bays with their boat to like get into like back parts, but that won't happen at all. Yeah, they're probably going to catch them great then.
I was looking down there this week, and I'm pulling it up right now, but I was thinking that it was by the end of the week it was going to be fairly nice. Let's see here.
60s maybe?
60 on Friday. I was a little off. Monday 67, but Sunday 63, Saturday 54, Friday 60, Thursday 41. So
that's beautiful.
Dipping down, the lows are dipping down in the low 30s, but
yeah, they're gonna bite. And those fish will be so fat, like they're gonna be putting a lot of heavy bags out.
Yeah, well, that BPT was phenomenal. That was fun to watch.
I'm curious to see with it not having any forward-facing sonar.
They're going to catch them.
Okay.
I have no doubt of that, but I'm curious who catches them. Right?
It'll be interesting after like the BPT guys were just there, and you saw a lot of the guys doing the traditional bridge thing, but it wasn't like the riprap bridge. It was them fishing the bait that's out and around the bridges. It'll be interesting to see if guys revert back to like the old school bridge fishing where they're throwing the jigs and stuff, actually concentrating more on the riprap, or do you think they'll be out there slow rolling a swim bait down a little deeper at the depth that they think that the bait fish is at, and just to see, because the majority of the fish are out there, so it'll be interesting to see if some of those guys try to concentrate on those fish that they can't see with their electronics, or do they revert back to the old school, beating the riprap type thing.
I think there's going to be a group of guys out there shaking a minnow.
I do too. I mean,
Yep.
We saw so many guys in the BPT that were catching them fast enough where the number of fish is good enough where, and the quality is good enough where if you commit to it, and you're probably going to be able to get 1 bite an hour doing it, and you're going to have 5 to 8 good quality fish.
So, question: I know in practice they can't use forward facing, right?
I don't know. I actually think they can in practice, but I'm not sure about that.
Like in official practice.
I don't think they can.
I don't know if they can or can't, but I
was wondering it in pre-practice. So if they're going down prior to these events, can they use forward facing in pre-practice?
I mean, my assumption is yes, but don't,
a while in advance, but
yeah, I mean, my assumption is yes. For some reason, I feel like they said that they were allowed to do it in practice as well. But a lot of guys were choosing not to do it in practice. And this could be completely wrong, but I thought that's what it was, where guys were like, I'm not going to use it in practice because if I can't use it in the tournament, it won't help me.
Yeah, that'll just mess you up, I think. I looked this up.
But I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not fishing them, so I haven't read their rules the way I would if I was fishing them.
Is that a little screwdriver tonight or what?
No, it's a hazy. It's one of my favorites. It's Pseudo Sue by Toppling Goliath, Decorah, Iowa. It looks like a screwdriver. That's
it looks very orangey.
It is very, very orangey. That's my bougie beer. I'm a hazy guy.
Yeah,
you two and your IPAs and your craft beers, and
I like that stuff, man. I mean,
I'm just down here with my Busch Light, man.
I tried. So I actually today. So my wife's a chiropractor. Next to the chiropractor, her office is a little local, booze store, and so I was like, I don't have anything. I'll grab something for the show tonight. And I bought that because I know that that's one of my favorites, but I also bought an Athletic Brewing hazy IPA or hazy beer or whatever they call it. And I tried one of those as well. And I was actually probably impressed with it, but it's not the same. It tasted more kind of like a, like if you mixed a seltzer with a beer. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it wasn't bad. Like it was not bad by any means, but it was
more carbonation, maybe.
Yeah, it had a little bit more fizziness to it. I feel like.
Yeah,
I've been seeing those advertised, but I haven't tried them yet.
Yeah, it did exceed my expectations. I will say that.
Yeah, my wife's a big fan of just the carbonated water stuff. She has all different kinds of flavors and stuff, and I try one about every 6 months. I'll take a drink just to remind myself that I don't like them, and. I've been honest with it and open, but it just doesn't tickle my palate, so to speak.
I'm looking at I look so rosy today, and you guys look so normal, and I'm like, yeah, that's because I was out ice fishing today.
Yeah, you did. You got some sun.
That's what happens.
You got some.
You get out there and you're in the middle of the lake, and it's cold and windy, and you get that little rosiness. Like I've been out fishing.
Are you ice fishing like hardcore, rolling around? Punching holes, or are you just sitting in a hut somewhere?
No, well, today I literally rolled up on a buddy who was out. He was already set up, and he had a heater in the shack. We never actually even went in the shack. It was nice enough where it was, 22 degrees doesn't sound nice, but like we just got over a stint where we never broke zero for like 5 days straight. So, it was pretty brutal. So to have the sun out and 22 degrees, not much wind. Yeah. Actually kind of felt kind of nice.
I'm not
hardcore ice fisherman.
We still had that same cold spell, just not as extreme as you with the, single digits, maybe creep up into the teens throughout the day. But my wife and I went to dinner the other night, and I was telling Gabe that this weekend, I was walking in and looked at the temperature, and it was like 21, cold, just in the evening. And I was in like a light hoodie and a thin pair of, slacks. And I was like, I'm not even cold. It's bad that I've become accustomed to this already.
Yeah, you get out.
That is one of the most noticeable things when you live north. Like when the fall rolls in and you get your 40-degree days and 30-degree days, I mean, you're just like bundled up. Like it's cold out. In the spring, when you get a 35-degree day,
shorts and
it's like shorts weather. I mean, you're out there, you're like, this is beautiful. And it's like, no, it's the same temp it was in the fall when you were complaining about the cold. And it's just, you get so accustomed to just the weather. I mean, we get snow on the ground when it falls in November or December. It's the same snow that's there come, end of March or April.
It hasn't melted.
No, I mean, the boys have a we got a big snowfall in early December, and it was one of those really wet snowfalls where it's like perfect for snowman, making and snowballs and stuff like that. But we got like, I want to say it was like 12 inches or a foot. And I was able to take a shovel and literally make like cubes the size of the shovel and carry it over. And I mean, we made a fort in the yard that's probably, 4 foot tall, 30 foot long, and it's got like rooms and everything. And it was,
nice.
And it's still there. I mean, it is not any different. The kids have been playing in it all winter because it has not melted, and it won't melt until it'll be the last thing in my yard probably that doesn't melt. At this point, we did have one ice storm at one point. I mean, it's solid right now. It's not going anywhere.
Well, it's like those McDonald's quarter pounders with cheese. You can just set it on the shelf and come back 7 years later and it's still there.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Like if we want to build a fort, we have to do it today, and it's done, and it's going to be melted by tomorrow. Y'all build a fort, and you can take your time and build a 30-foot tall or 30-foot long one.
Dude, we put, and it was not like a one-day thing. That was, I knew the effort I was putting into that was going to be like, it would be around for a while. Like if I knew it was going to melt one day later, we would not have done. We would have made a snowman. That's right. What we would have done.
We fished a Toyota series at Lake of the Ozarks about 3 years ago, and we stay. It's about a 15-minute run to PB2, the lake house that my buddy Greg owns. And so Mike met his co-angler, his co-angler came to the house we were staying at. And the guy just drove down from Minnesota. Is a young kid. I think he put in like a 12-hour drive or something, just kind of like a suicide mission or whatever. He shows up in the morning at 6, and this is a March derby. And so we go 3 wide in the boat, idling out of the cove, and it's 28 degrees. I think it's supposed to hit like mid 40s, but this guy, he's like in his 20s. I can't remember his name. He was a really cool dude. But I look over and he's got flip-flops on, man. And he's just got like a sun hoodie, like a light. It might be like the next level up from a sun hoodie. It wasn't like made out of that material, but it was like a 50-50 blend or something. But it was a thinner. It wasn't even like this hoodie. It was like downgraded from this. He's got that on. And he's got like a pair of sweatpants on and flip-flops. No hat, no sock cap, no gloves. And I'm just looking at him, and I got like 5 layers on. You can barely see my face. I probably had like the motocross goggles on and everything, a buff. I'm like this, and I just look over, and he just made me feel like a little, first grader or something. And he said he was fine. He's like, I'm not even cold. He's like, where I just came from, it was like 0 and the wind was blowing, snow was all over the place. And
well, no, the wild thing is, like, if you live up here, you're hardy to it. But if you're like a diehard ice fisherman or a snowmobiler, like that's a different breed, man. I mean, they're out there sticking their whole arm in down the hole. I mean, they're wet the whole time. They are just like, I can't do that. I mean, I get cold when I go ice fishing, but those guys, I think, have killed all the nerves in their hands already that they just don't feel cold weather anymore.
Right.
I mean, the same thing with the snowmobilers. I mean, they've got all the good protective gear, but half the time you see them out there just riding around 70 mile an hour, and you know, they're in a hoodie and goggles and they're good to go.
Yeah.
It's a different breed. I can tell you that.
Isn't there like two different types of ice fishermen though? You got the hardcore guys that are going to go punch 40 holes today and try to get on them, and then the other ones are going to go sit in the hut and drink beer all day.
I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, it's kind of like fishing, right? You get the hardcore ice fishermen who are, I mean, now what you see, you know, we always talk about forward-facing sonar with respect to like what we do, right? Bass fishing, and it's changed ice fishing a lot too. Like now you'll go out and guys will literally drill grids, you know, like hole every 10 feet, and they'll drill 100 holes, and they'll have one guy that'll sit in the middle of all the holes with the transducer and literally like scan around and be like, you know, 20 feet that way. And then the guy will go to the hole, and they literally will like have two guys dropping on fish while another guy's pointing out where the fish are at. So it's changed the game with ice fishing a lot. But yeah, you've generally got like, there's a group of people that want to go catch every fish they can catch, and they're super serious. And then you've got another group that I think, you know, this sounds bad, but I think they view the shack as like a way to get away from, you know, their home or their job or whatever. It's just like, that's their weekend getaway house, and they drive out there and they're there all weekend. I mean, literally, they sleep out there all weekend, and you know, it's their lake house, I guess, is what you would call it. But
and they got one, or you know, they just got a handful of holes in the shack, and that's it, right?
Yeah, they don't even really go. I mean, they fish, but they're not there to catch fish. They're there to, you know, just to hang out and do whatever. I mean, some of them just go out and they don't even drop a hole, and they just go and turn on the big screen TV and put a movie in and just hang out in the shack. I mean, depending where you're at, some of these places have, I mean, literally towns on the water. So it's like you go there, you know how you go to some places and you have the trailer yards or the trailer courts, and people go there and it's like they know everybody and they go to hang out with their friends because they've got a trailer here and here and here. It's the same thing in the winter on the ice. People will set their shacks up next to their buddies, and you know, they go out and they're out there all weekend, and
that's their camping weekend on the ice.
It's ice. A lot of people call it ice camping because that's really what they're doing, is living on the ice.
Do they have vendors and stuff like food trucks?
It's funny you say that, because I actually told my buddy today, I was like, we should set up like so around my house, we've got a lot of bait shops that are self-serve for actual live bait. You know, you come and, I mean, you can literally scoop your own minnows, you leave money in a slot, and it's all self-service. And I was like, man, I think you could set up a vendor's booth, like, because when you get out on the ice, there's like, it's literally roads, ice roads, right? You know, everyone kind of drives down the same road. And I feel pretty confident you could set up a roadside booth with snacks and stuff, and you could probably make it self-service and make a pile of money.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are. I mean, I don't do it enough, but I would be willing to bet you that there are people that drive around in like food trucks and probably make a lot of money doing it. You know how like
I'm selling 30 packs of beer.
I mean, you could do that. You might get in trouble with that if you didn't have your license, but
yeah.
I mean, you know how some lakes, I mean, you got to have it on Lake of the Ozarks, I bet, where there's like hot dog boats that drive around.
There might be. I don't know. I mean, there's on the water places to pull up and get a bite to eat.
There's lakes up in my neck of the woods where during the summer months, I mean, there'll be like, there's a pontoon boat that'll drive around, and it's literally like a hot dog stand. And you can pull up in your boat, buy a hot dog and drink, and you don't have that by you on Lake of the Ozarks has to have that.
Probably so.
Yeah,
I mean, they have everything there.
Yeah,
Lake of the Ozarks for us is 5 hours away, 4 hours away, and it's not the weekend hangout for us. It's
I'm sure there is though.
Tournament lake.
I mean, that's like in this day and age. I mean, somebody's doing that. I
just assume though every big lake down south has got to have that. If it's a lake, like Table Rock's got to have it. Like, I mean,
why not Uber Eats on the water? Like,
that's what I was thinking. Like Uber Bait.
That actually does happen. You can get, depending on the drivers, you can have them deliver like a pizza direct to your shack. Like you can, that does happen out here at times.
Well, I'm actually talking like on the lake. Like you got like a tag team, somebody that's close to town, and you can port right there, dock right there, and grab the Chick-fil-A or the.
You think it's some of the lakes, like you see I've never been to Havasu during spring break, but you know how you see some of these places where you have like hundreds of boats just tied up. I know like Lake Minnetonka is that way up by Minneapolis in the summer. You probably could make a fortune doing that, like having a guy just shuttling the food back and forth.
Yeah, I think a guy that's like sitting in an ice shack and he's like 12 deep in spotted cows and he's running low on leeches. I mean, I'm sure, a phone call away and somebody could just shoot out there on a snowmobile and drop off a couple dozen leeches for the guy. That'd be a good money.
I mean, there's a business to be had there.
That's right. That's right. You want to pay for your summer habits of fishing. You need to go up north, and
it'd be a good side hustle. I mean, especially if I lived on the lake, man, I would definitely look into that. It would be a minimal investment once you figured out what the priority items were, whatever they are, and it might take a couple years to really get rolling. But
I'll probably get in trouble for saying this because I don't have a license to sell. But so my wife is a chiropractor. She is a retailer for Element salt drinks. Have you heard of Element? They make like those salt packets you put in a drink, and it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It brings back your electrolytes and stuff like that. They had a little. It wasn't a contest, I guess, but you could apply to get a lemonade stand. So they had a new lemon flavored salt drink coming out, and they ended up selecting my wife and my boys' submission for the lemonade stand, and it was like a legit lemonade stand, like cardboard cutout. I mean, a big like facade of a lemonade stand. So we set it up. We live on the Wisconsin River right here. We set it up on the river on a couple of hot days in the summer, and the traffic was pretty good for Element salt drinks. The boys made a little side cash on the few days that they did it.
Nice.
So I mean, and that's just right here on the river, but like I can only imagine on a more popular, lake, you go to a place like a Lake Lanier or someplace that in the summer is just a zoo, you probably could make a killing.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody was saying there was an ice brothel busted a few years ago.
That's
you got alcohol, men and money. That those things
sounds like a truck stop to me.
Yeah. I have no comment on that one, but it would not surprise me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's talk a little fishing. I was actually checking out your channel the other night. I hadn't stopped by in a while, and I was editing. I've been like nonstop editing down here since we've been basically snowed in. It's crazy the amount of work that I've got done because I haven't been able to go fishing for like 2.5, 3 weeks. But anyway, I was like, I'm going to take a little breather, and Matt's going to be on tomorrow night. I'm going to stop by and check out his channel. And I saw you fish the dual threat tournament.
It did.
That's been a buzz on all the podcasts and stuff. It started out like $5,000 entry fee, and then they waived the entry fee. There was no entry fee. So one of the things I was wanting to talk about was your experience and how do you get selected to enter that tournament, and then talk about the experience and what you thought about it.
So so when they released the schedule, it was back in August of last summer. And the only reason I recall that is because I was at the Leech Lake Bassmaster Open event, and it was the day that one of the days got canceled. And I went to lunch with Miles Berghoff and Matt Pangrack and Blake Schroeder, who were my roommates at that point. And the schedule came out like that day. So we were sitting at the table talking about it. And I remember looking at the schedule being like, man, this is pretty awesome. A couple of Florida lakes, which I like. La Crosse was on it. It just was, there was a good one. And, you know, Miles Berghoff's a buddy of mine. And I was like, man, we should fish it. And he's like, I don't know. But two of the lakes, Watts Bar and Gunnersville, were within like driving distance of his house. So I was like, man, we could really cut back on costs and do it. But we looked into it, and it wasn't ideal for schedules. And after that, we just kind of, you know, I moved on, I guess. I didn't put it in my list of events I was going to fish. And we got a call. It was several weeks ago, but not that long ago, where they, you know, were kind of filling us in on the idea of going no entry fee, and they wanted us to come fish. And, you know, it really was not a hard decision at that point, where, you know, we talked quite a bit about it, Miles and I, in terms of like, you know, how would it fit with our schedules, what the cost still would be, you know, the idea that this is a new circuit, you know, it could be something that potentially folds after a tournament. It could be something that, you know, doesn't happen, or all year doesn't happen, or the payouts don't happen. And, you know, ultimately our take on it was the potential is too good to pass up. I mean, we really thought, you know, from the standpoint of, you take the entry fees out of it, keep the payouts the same, our expense is travel at that point, travel and time. And, you know, at worst case scenario would be able to make some content out of it. And it would be, you know, like a trip down south for me, where I'm paying the travel expenses anyways, but I could make some content out of it. And, you know, we decided we would jump in at that point. The thing is, the way the schedules worked out, like I knew I was going to fish Okeechobee by myself. I couldn't fish the second one on the St. John. So he was fishing that one. He fished that one by himself. And then there's one event. There's a Bassmaster Open on Grand Lake that ends the day before the Gunnersville dual threat starts. So I'll have to drive from Grand Lake basically through the night to get there for the start of the tournament. But like, you know, I'm more than happy to do it. That first event was, it was interesting to be at, because from an organizational standpoint, you could tell that this was like their first event. I mean, there was a lot of learning curves, which they actually adjusted each day. So the first day was, what I would say is, from the day before the first day at the meeting, there was a lot of learning at the meeting in terms of things that they would need to put into place for the tournament. Day one, there were things that were identified that needed to be changed. They were changed by day two. The things that need to be changed by day three were changed. So by the end of the tournament, it actually was running really smoothly. It didn't start off necessarily that way, but when you're talking about having 60 teams of very experienced anglers, it's not like we need much direction, right? I mean, it's kind of like, we just tell us where we need to check in, tell us where we need to put the fish, that type of thing. And so it really, I personally feel like it got a little bit of a bad rap in some of the social media circles. Was it disorganized to start? Yeah, it was disorganized. Did it end a lot smoother? Did the second event go a heck of a lot smoother? Yeah, it really did. And those processes are easy to fix, right? It's the other things that could be harder. You know, like there's a lot of people talking about payouts or checks not cashing. I didn't cash a check, so I can't speak about my check cashing. But as far as I know, everything's good with that. So, you know, from an angler perspective, the anglers were so happy to be there. It was really cool. It was like a championship event where the stress level was really low because there's no entry fee. And it was, I don't want to say party because it wasn't a party, but it was just a very positive atmosphere. And everyone you talk to was kind of in a position where it's like, man, like, is this too good to be true? And it's like, maybe, but as long as the checks cash, hey, we're all in for it. So, and what I was told when we signed up was, if we fish the first year, we're guaranteed the second year. And then after the second year, they'll start making cuts to the bottom whatever percentage of anglers. So I didn't want to miss that. I didn't want to miss out on it, right? I mean, if it turned into something that was really good, I wanted to make sure I fished that first year to be able to continue with it.
I mean, I think there's been a want for a high stakes team tournament, right? Like, not that Texas doesn't have it, not that Alabama doesn't have it, but we're talking a national tour at this point for high stakes.
I really do agree with that. I mean, especially after fishing it, like, so I started my tournament fishing was all team stuff. Like in the upper Midwest, outside of the BFLs, I don't think there was really any individual tournaments that were up here. Everything was team stuff. Even the bigger regional stuff was team based. So I spent basically, I started tournament fishing in college, and then, I jumped into the FLW tour when I was 30. So about 10 years I was fishing I had really basically one team partner, and we would fish 15 to 25 tournaments a year. And I funded my FLW tour first several years with team tournament winnings. And once I started fishing the professional stuff, I just couldn't commit to the team tournament stuff because that was all circuit based, and I just couldn't make it work. So to like jump back into this sort of team environment is really exciting to me, because I just think there's something special about like fishing with somebody else where you have success and you get to enjoy that moment with somebody and you're high-fiving, and it's just, team events I think are a blast. Like it's a different feel than an individual event, and ideally we do well, but even in the times when it's bad, you still have somebody else that you're kind of like suffering with, right? Like how did we screw that one up, right? Like I think there's something good about that. So I think there's very much a place. I've watched a lot of recap videos because I feel like it hasn't specifically been said from the dual threat people, but you can recognize there's been an emphasis to try to get anglers that have content, because I do feel like, or make a lot of content. And I feel like that was probably, a strategical move on their part that I think could be very beneficial to both parties. Dual threat doesn't necessarily have to have the cameras and pay for all that extra personnel, knowing that there's going to be a bunch of content that's made by the anglers that are fishing it, and both can hopefully grow together, which is different than the other leagues. The other leagues don't want you live streaming. The other leagues, kind of want to put a cap on some of what the content is that's being put out. And in this case, Dual Threat's actually sending emails and texts to us saying, hey, if you're going to live stream, send us the link so we can put it on our website, so that when people go to Dual Threat's website, they can click on your link to watch your live stream on a whole different platform, right? Like to me, that's cool, but I think it's very beneficial to both sides. The anglers get the exposure. The organization doesn't have the expense of having to have camera guys there. And, I think it's a good way to get exposure. In the long term, they might have to do something more to have their own content, but, I don't know, in the conversations I've had with them, I don't know that they're looking to replicate kind of what the other organizations have done. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it feels like they're taking a different approach.
I know when I saw, I think it was Kyle Patrick that had a live feed going during the tournament, and there was like, I think there was like 978 people watching it. That's big numbers for somebody just having a live stream going during a tournament. That's
for, 8 hours worth of content too, potentially, right? And so I talked to him. We were sitting next to each other waiting to take off both mornings at Okeechobee. And he was showing me all the stuff he's done. And he's put thousands and thousands of dollars into that setup with the hopes that it would pay off. And, I've gone back and watched some of the live stream because the footage, I've heard so many people talk about it, and watching it, it's wild. He had a camera set up on the rear seat post. He had one on his dash. He had one on the bow facing back, and then he had an HDMI cable linked up to his forward facing sonar, so he could, and then he has special software that evaluates the footage and determines if it should go from a 4-box to a 1 screen. You know, if 1 screen's got a lot of activity going on, the software will cut to that. Wow. And then I believe he's also got a buddy who handles a lot of his content and is kind of a producer at the same time. So if he's watching and wants to actually select a screen, he can do that. I think he was updating his weight on there. So if he caught one, he could report back what his weight was, so it showed on the screen. Like I mean, the amount of effort he's putting in, and we were joking around because in the morning he couldn't get like one of the cameras wasn't working, and we were just joking around about how like he should be concerned about catching a bass, and instead he's running around literally 5 minutes before takeoff trying to figure out how to get this camera working for the viewers, when that's not really what we should be concerned about. But that's kind of what bass fishing's turned into. Like, you have to be cognizant of that other aspect of the fishing. So I mean, it's a big effort. I mean, it was not, I mean, he opened up his back compartments and was showing me. I mean, it literally looked like he had those computer towers where you have like all the blinking lights. I mean, he had back compartments full of different modems and software type things, and it's a major expense on his part to do it. I mean, I don't think he's doing it with the intent to make the money back through views. I think the intent is, you know, that hopefully it brings some better sponsor dollars in the long run.
If you think about let's just say over that 8-hour period, he was averaging 700 viewers over that 8-hour period. Like, the amount of watch time hours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that would add up to, but
that's significant. I mean,
well, I think I saw he was actually using that same setup for practice at the Elite Series, because he's not allowed to do it during the tournaments for the Bassmaster Elite Series. So I believe, I could be wrong. Don't get mad at me, Kyle, if I'm saying this wrong, but I thought I saw him doing it during practice one of the days on Gunnersville. So, you know, if his plan is to showcase practice in the dual threat tournaments, I mean, that's the content he's going to get from it, but he can't do it. So he's invested in all that, not even being able to do it for the Elite Series tournaments.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I kind of have, I don't know. There's good and bad about that. Obviously, people are seeing where you're fishing and what you're doing, and it's a lot harder to hide it. And, you know, in practice, it's kind of like, you know, even if you have a camera in the boat the day of the tournament, you know that on practice you're going to be able to do what you want and run around without being seen by a camera. But if you've got a live feed going all the time, and I know it's going to be delayed, probably. I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. I'd feel uncomfortable with doing that. But
yeah, it's funny because so I talked to my partner, Miles Berghoff, about doing it, and I think we're going to try it. Not to that extent. Like, we're just going to throw a camera in the back and see if the live stream works. Miles, so I've got Starlink at my house, but it's our source of internet and stuff at our house. It works great, but it's also got to be in a fixed position. And as much as I'd like to take that on the road with me, the rest of the family wouldn't have anything. But Miles was talking about getting one for his house, but he wanted it specifically for travel purposes. So he's like, this is a good reason to buy it. We'll try it and see if it works. You know, I don't know. I don't know how it'll go. You know, I think from our perspective, we're pretty talkative in the boat anyways, whether we're giving each other crap or, you know, actually talking about how to catch a bass. So I think it could be entertaining and educational.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, if it turns into something that is too much of a hassle, I could see us putting the kibosh on it too.
Yeah. I know Starlink was giving away that mini there for a while.
I was just going to say that the Starlink had a mini offer going there for.
Yeah.
That.
It's funny you say that, because I saw that offer too, having a Starlink, and I was like, should I get it or should I not? And I thought about it. So the issue I've seen, and apparently this isn't that big of an issue, but when I got the Starlink for the house. It's better than any local service I can get at my house. So I was really satisfied with it. But I also know that if I put it in the wrong position, like if there were trees in the way, it would not be it would be good for like using the internet, but it wouldn't be great for doing like a live stream. Right. And so I actually called Starlink up to talk to them about the options they have, because they have the mini, which is for travel, but they also, which a lot of people don't know, is they have a marine one made for yachts, and it actually is on a post and always positions to face north, because the Starlink is supposed to face north.
Oh,
the problem with the marine one is I want to say when I looked into it, I think it's like $5,000 for it, and then the monthly service is like $500.
geez.
So it's significantly more expensive, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. And when I talked to the Starlink people, they mentioned to me at that time that the mini would run into the same issues as having a normal Starlink. So if I was in a canal and I had trees overhead, it would be a bad signal, and it needs.
Yeah, but I would guess if you're in the middle of the lake, though, you should be good, right?
Well, so that's. I think if you're in the middle of the lake, I think you're generally good. But I do think, you've seen it with some of the other guys that have used it at like the St. John's River. If they're in a canal, the service is pretty broken up. So it's one of those things. So when I got that offer for the mini, I was like, I just don't want to get it and then not be able to use it. I wish I had done it though at this point, because just from a travel perspective, it would have been nice to take with me in case I needed it.
Yeah, I passed on it too, man. But
you got Starlink, don't you, Gabe?
Yeah, I loved it, man. It's been great. We had T-Mobile before that, and the thing with T-Mobile was, I mean, we have a T-Mobile tower like a mile from us. I can see it out my front yard or my front door, but they throttled it for us. They would only sell us like 100 gigs a month, and it got to where we were still like, I don't know, we were like a week to a week and a half from our plan re-upping for the month. And everybody was just like really on pins and needles about what we were watching. And it's just a stress that we didn't need. And then, Starlink, I looked into that, and $120 a month, unlimited. And, you can have like all kinds of stuff running all the time. It's a super strong signal. So I've been pleased with it. I mean, it's been pretty solid for me.
The thing that would drive me nuts is the internet I could have to the house, or that I had to the house, was, literally about as basic as you could get. There was only one provider. So when I went to upload YouTube videos, it was way faster for me to do it through my cell phone than the internet that was to the house. The problem is I would blow through my limit on my cell phone really quick, and then it would take like all night to use the Wi-Fi I had. Now I've got Starlink, and it's like, it's really very good. So I've been very pleased with it.
I couldn't even get on work calls with the internet that we had here before. Like I'd be on a Zoom meeting, and if I would move too much, it would like process so much data, and it would just get. And I had people reaching out. They're like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Nothing." But if I move or I talk too much, the signal shuts down.
Yeah. If you were to go back and find some of the first podcasts I did, that were years ago, probably even with you, like you guys here, like nothing was clean. And I don't know how it looks on your end, but it looks clean on my side. Yeah. And it was like in the past, some of the videos that I've gone back and seen or popped up, it looks like I've actually tried to like block out the background, because it's just that bad. And like you said, if I went like this, it would look like I had like a trail behind me. It's just terrible. And
your aura was revealed.
I'm very happy with it. I just, at this point, kind of wish I had done the mini. Like I said, not even for live stream purposes, but a lot of the rental houses we go to don't have good internet or don't have internet. And it's like, it probably would have been worth it.
Or no cell service. Like we were at Table Rock over the Christmas holidays, and the house that we were in was down low enough that you had one bar of cell phone service, and they advertised their internet, and heck, their internet. I had same thing. My phone was faster than their internet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we've had a couple of events this year too. I would have liked to have had it just to have had service that would have kept us up to date. Like there was, I think it was Norfolk where we had. They ended up canceling it because we had like 10 inches of rain, and But we were in a location on the White River that was known to flood, but it was like just when we lost power, it was one of those things where it was like just to have the Wi-Fi, good Wi-Fi to get exactly what I needed would have been nice. But yeah, we'll see. I'll probably end up getting it at some point and have to pay full price for it.
So do you carry a generator with you? Like, I just thought about that with like power loss.
No. So I've thought about it. I do not. Probably should. In all my years of travel, there'd probably be 1 or 2 times where I would have liked to have had it. But I do not do it. I wish I would.
Do you run?
I should say, not necessarily I wish I would. It's probably a smart thing to get just to have for my house as well, because I'm out in the sticks here. And then I could take it with me if I needed it.
Do you have lithium in your boat?
Yes.
That made a big change though too, right? Like,
yeah, that is a big part.
Somebody kicks the plug out in the middle of the night on old flooded battery, and
it used to be like, man, I think back before lithium, batteries were like the biggest stress. I mean, it was just one of those things where it was always like you were tripping fuses, or just, you'd be fishing and halfway through the day you'd be losing power and you're like, man, I got to get this charged, or you didn't get a full charge overnight. Now batteries aren't even like an issue anymore. It's really not a concern, whereas in the old days it was the thing that everyone battled.
Yeah, I fished 3 days at Kentucky Lake, and at the end of those 3 days, I never charged them. I got home, pulled up in the driveway, and I pulled out. I got Miller Tech, because that's just when I was looking. I just pulled those up and bought them. And I pulled up my app, and I had 95% charge on my trolling motor batteries and 65 on my starting battery that runs all of my electronics and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't run all that much, but I was just amazed. I'm like, that right there, just that peace of mind to just be able to be out on the lake. You've been fishing on the trolling motor for 7 hours. You can pull up that app and say, hey, I got plenty of juice to start my motor, instead of the thing that makes you look to see if you're going to be able to get back to the boat ramp is when your graph starts flickering and shutting off, like back in the old days.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, well, maybe I need to like fire this motor up for a little bit. So
yeah,
it's nice.
It's not, it is so different now. That is, and when you think about the amount of electronics and stuff we have on our boats now compared to what we used to have, it's probably like double in terms of the amount of power being drawn.
For sure. Especially like if you're running a LiveScope, that really sucks the juice down.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not really an issue. Back to that dual threat though. So that's put, who's running that? I haven't really heard a straight answer on it. Is it one individual? Is it a group of people, and how are they able to just pay out without paying in,
I mean, I can't necessarily answer that. I mean, the owner is a guy named Ethan.
Okay.
I believe he's the full, like, sole individual owner, but I do think he received investment. So I don't know if he gave up ownership or how that actually worked, but my understanding is the free entry fees were based off of an investor coming in and putting money into it. Whether they took ownership or just some sort of revenue share, I don't know offhand with respect to that. But yeah, it's interesting to me because a lot of the comments I've seen are from individuals saying, well, how they don't have any sponsors. How could this work? How could it survive? And I think from a traditional tournament standpoint, that makes sense, right? Like all the tournaments that are out there, everything is sponsor related, right? Like that's how these organizations work. But I also look at the organizations right now, and like you hear so many comments from people stating things like, well, they're basically bankrupt, or they're not making any money. They're on their last leg, which, if that's true, and I don't know if that's true, but you hear that about the other main organizations, and it's like, well, if that's true, maybe that approach of sponsors is not actually a good business decision. So, maybe dual threat. And again, this is just me talking. I don't have any information. I didn't even talk to them about any sort of their business dealings. So I don't know what their plan is. But I also don't think it's crazy to think, if you think big picture, don't look for sponsors in the fishing industry that are already tapped out. You go for these big investors or big companies. If you can lure them to the point where, you know, there is money to be had, or at least they've gotten rid of entry fees, so we're fishing for free because the investor has apparently put enough money into it. If they can make it work and you've got investors that are satisfied somehow, I would think that the endemic sponsors would actually come to them at that point and say, hey, we want to be involved in it. But I don't know that those are the dealings that will actually like make the organization rise to the next level. You know, I've heard some things with respect to like big picture, what they'd like to do. And I think, you know, if they're big picture items, like they're really out there, but if they were able to make that happen, I mean, I think that they would be in a very good economical place without sponsors. But right now, when you look at it, you go, how are they doing this without sponsor revenue? But the reality is, if they've got big enough investors, and they don't want to have to answer to sponsors, maybe that's the right way to go about it. Because I really, when I look at the current organizations that are out there that have using the sponsor platform, it sure doesn't look like they're crushing it either. So I don't know that that's the right business model either.
Yeah, it's like if they can tread water and continue to get the buzz and have the right fishermen fishing it that have good content to kind of showcase what's going on, and just let it grow long enough to create some outside interest and have some other non-endemic sponsors come into it. I mean, I could see that, you know, going somewhere, because the ideal's a no-brainer. I mean, who doesn't want to fish for free? And team tournaments are, everybody likes team tournaments. So it's really a, if you view it as a normal company, if there's investors, those investors at some point are going to want to return. And the question is, how do you get them a return? And I'm hoping they have that figured out. Because you know, at this point, like I said, I'm not privy to anything. Don't know that I necessarily need to be privy to anything. I just am happy to be involved, and I'm going to keep fishing them as long as they keep having them.
Well, you know, you say that about the not needing a endemic sponsor or having an investor at this point. Like, if more of the organizations took that mindset, the endemic sponsors would have more to give back to the folks that were actually contributing to the cause. Your major sponsors would say, oh, well, we don't have to pay, you know, MLF or Bass X dollars, sponsorship dollars. We can invest that money back into our anglers. And now we have big team deals again and things like that. But you know, back in the days where Walmart was involved, like, that was a huge non-endemic.
Yeah.
And we really don't have that today.
I mean, when you really look at it, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be on the Bridgeford Foods team, and they're, you know, I would consider them non-endemic.
Absolutely.
And I mean, there really are not many, unfortunately, there are not many companies like Bridgeford that have really put a lot of dollars into it. Toyota would be a good one, but it's not, you know, it's not like when you think back to the FLW days, those team deals with Fuji and Castrol, and, you know, there were so many different team deals. And I don't think that's because we can't get value for those companies. I think part of it is just needing to show them that we can get the views and we can get them a return on their dollars. And I do think a lot of companies at this point have probably felt like they weren't able to get that return. And once they try fishing, they move on. You know, if it didn't work out for a couple of years, they move on. And the reality is, no matter what industry it is, everyone watches their competition. So, you know, if a Castrol came in and they get out, the likelihood that Pennzoil probably is not going to come flying in to fill their place because it probably didn't work that good. At least that's how I think. I don't know. Maybe that's not true, but to me, it makes some sense to think, that if companies are moving away, that it may not have been a great return for them in the first place. And, but I do think there's opportunity there. I again, without being involved in the companies, I don't know what all the organizations are doing or trying to do, but I also feel like the industry can get stagnant at times. So if you have the ability to think outside of the box, even, in whatever field of the industry it is, but if as a tournament organization, if their approach is we're going to get investors versus sponsors, maybe that'll work. I mean, it doesn't seem super far-fetched. It's just a question of how do you get those investors a return on their dollars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about non-endemics. How many of those have come and gone? Last a year, last 2 years, last 4 or 5 years, and then all of a sudden they still have products, they're just not in the fishing space.
Yeah, they squeeze the berry, man. They'll come in, they'll have like a 3-year contract. Like their plan is like, okay, we're gonna throw our hat into the ring for like 3 years. We're gonna milk everything we can out of this, and then they're just gonna move on. And from a business standpoint, that makes kind of sense. There's, it's not personal, it's just business. There's a lot of loyalty that goes away when it's a business transaction. It's just kind of the way it works.
Well, and then, today there was that announcement, and I don't know anything of it other than the fact that this big high dollar championship event with the top guys from the BPT, top guys from the Elite are fishing for $1.25 million or something like that. You guys might know more than I do at this point, but my first thought was, where's this money coming from? Because, if there's everyone's questioning the dual threat stuff, well, this is the same sort of thing. So if you've got an investor that wants to do it, for all I know, it's just somebody out there that loves fishing and has more money than he needs. And he's just looking to put together a team circuit because he had fun when he was fishing tournaments with his team buddy, right? Like,
he's got a bunch of money that he needs to write off on a tax.
Yeah. I mean, it could, who knows? Like it
is tax season.
I really don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. He's already got 7 houses and 27 boats. He's like, let's fund a tournament organization or trail.
I mean, they're giving a Bitcoin away at the championship. Maybe the guy bought,
I saw that,
300,000 Bitcoin at 30 cents a pop. Who knows?
What is Bitcoin trading at right now? Do you know?
Yeah, it's down now. I think it's like 75-ish. When it was floating around 100 when they made the announcement, but it is down a little bit. I'd be more than happy to open a digital wallet and slide that thing right in there, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that poor guy that bought like 2 large pizzas with his Bitcoin, 10 years ago. He's
man. Today. I don't know the details exact, but my sister's husband, so my brother-in-law, they live out in California, and he's got friends that have multiple startups, and he's tied in with some of the Silicon Valley dudes and all that. But years ago, he had the offer to buy some shares of Microsoft, like way, way, way back before it was Microsoft, and he passed on it. And to this day, he's still a little bit bitter about it. If you drink an IPA with him, he'll open up and tell you how close he was to just really making it. But it was like right there. And it's like, because I don't know what the percentage is of startups actually succeeding, but it's not that good. I mean, it's like 2% or something. And he just didn't see it, passed on it, and now he feels dumb about it. But
dude, when I was in my previous life, when I was working in the financial industry, I had a buddy who was real big into the cryptocurrencies. And I mean, we used to go to lunch every day and he'd be telling me about it. And finally one day it was like, let's buy some. And Bitcoin was $300 a pop at the time. And I was like, I'll buy 10, $3,000. Like, it's a lot of money, but it's not that much money. And so I opened an account up with, I don't remember who it was at the time. Anyway, whatever the trading platforms where I could purchase them. And I could not transfer the money from Chase Bank, who was my bank at the time, to the to the exchange that you needed to put the money into to buy the cryptocurrency. So because Chase Bank wouldn't allow me to make that transfer, I said, screw it, never did it. And I think back to myself, like, that was a big screw up. But at the same time, I probably would have sold it when it got to 400, right? Like,
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. So I had a buddy that we all have that one dude, right?
Yeah.
He made a phone. This was his brother made a phone call to him and was like, "Hey, I got a hunch on this one. Like, I've been watching it for." That's what his brother does, though. He trades crypto. He's like, "I got a hunch on this one. It's going to hit." And he's like, "Do you have an extra $1,000?" He's like, "No, I don't have an extra $1,000. Like, just to blow on a hunch. Like, no, get out of here." We got to talking about it. And finally, he's like, "You know what? Screw it. Like, here's $1,000. Do what you can." And in like 3 months, his 1,000 went to like 88,000. And I was like, why couldn't I get this phone call? Like, that would be awesome. And then how volatile it is, like the time that it took him to decide to sell, he lost like 20,000. Wow. Like, it was doing this.
Yeah.
And he sold, and now looking back, he'd be like over $1 million. And this was less than a year ago. All on $1,000 hunch. Like,
yeah, you don't know, man. Like you said,
it could easily go the other way too.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Could do that 20 times and it could have been zeros every time.
Yeah, there's the guy that mortgaged his house on that same deal, and now he's homeless on Skid Row. You know,
exactly.
Yeah. That was a good conversation about whatever it was. That was fun. So back to fishing a little bit.
The boring stuff,
One of the other questions I had written down is you have a really good perspective about this kind of stuff. I feel the tournament organizations, we kind of touched on this, but they're struggling, especially Major League Fishing. You know, they've been the BFL level. Things have kind of changed over the last couple of years. They've been struggling with entry fees and stuff. So they've made, some rule adjustments as far as forward-facing sonar go. They've adjusted to the 3-hour rule in the BFLs and the Toyota Series and the Pro Circuit. What's your take on why not as many people are fishing these tournaments as they have in the past? Because, my suspicion is it's not just one thing. It's probably multiple things that are compounding and they're getting like a synergistic effect. But what's your take on all that?
Man, I mean, I think you could go a lot of different directions with it. I think the obvious answer that everyone wants to point to is forward-facing sonar. I don't know that is solely the thing. I think there's an aspect to it. I think more than anything, a big part of it is generally I feel like fishing has always been a safe haven for all of us, right? Like, we've all got this common love of fishing, and we could all go talk fishing. We could all have a beer with each other and just talk fishing. And I feel like over the last couple of years, fishing has become much more like politics, where you almost have to tread lightly on what you say to who you say, because you don't know what their opinion is. And it's taken away some of that what I've referred to as like a safety net. Like, fishing is like a stress-free zone. It's where I go to try to remove my stress, and I think we've lost some of that as a sport. And I think there's enough people that don't love the sport maybe the way the three of us do. They're more like, yeah, I like to do it, so I'll go do it on the weekends. I think those people kind of just got shunned. Like, they felt like, hey, it's not worth that stress or going there and just getting into arguments. I'm already getting my butt kicked in. I used to enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it the same way. So I think we've become somewhat split as a sport. And I'm not saying this is a forward-facing sonar thing. I think forward-facing sonar is part of it. I think it's really allowed people the ability to voice an opinion, and it's maybe opened up the door for people to really voice their opinion on everything. I think part of it is what we're doing right now. I mean, social media provides a platform for people to voice their opinion and to say what they want. And I think a lot of us are open-minded enough to sit down and have a conversation and not hate the person next to them if they disagree with them. But, you know, in a lot of instances, people don't want to be around people that don't think the same way, right? I mean, it's politics, it's whatever you want to bring into it, if it has that feel to it. So I think personally, I feel like that's hindering the sport more than anything. I think tournaments have always been something where you see these ebbs and flows, and especially at the local level, you know, I think when you have, I think there's less people willing to show up to fish an event if they feel like the likelihood is that they're going to cash a check is decreased. So when you have entry fees that are increasing, payouts that are decreasing, or payouts decreasing, entry fees increasing, costs to fish the events increasing, and you throw in the fact that, you know, there's now, it's not always about the fun. I think people choose to go do something else. I mean, I've got a lot of people that I'm friends with up in my area that used to fish tournaments in my area. And now when I run into them, I'm like, what are you up to? And they're like, well, I've been bluegill fishing a lot lately.
Yeah.
And it's like, they still fish. They've moved away from bass tournaments because there's like it's not about the fun anymore. It's the competition, and they never really felt like they could compete anyways. They went and did it because their buddies did it. Yeah. But now their buddies, you know, they're split into two different groups, and it's like they just go bluegill fishing. And, you know, I think there's part of that, because I when you look at it from an industry standpoint, and I feel like, as much as I'm an angler now, I also have core tackle, and core tackle gives me a little bit more of the industry side of things. And if you look at it from an industry, sales for the industry were up 2% this year. And everyone wants to say, well, if you look at bass fishing, it's all jig head minnows. Like, that's what people are buying. And I do think that that's a lot of what's being bought. But there's also tackle being bought outside of bass fishing right now that is rising and increasing. And I think that's because we're seeing a lot of people moving to areas that don't have the gossip and the negativity that we have in bass fishing. They're going crappie fishing. They're going after catfish. They're going fishing to enjoy fishing. They're not worried about whether they're using forward-facing sonar and somebody's going to yell at them because they're doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I had a guy. Well, I've had this comment several times on some of my videos, and I know you appreciate the comment section on your videos just like I do. You get a lot of
sometimes.
Yeah, right. You know, you get a good perspective of what's really out there and the different styles of folks. And some people, it's like the Wild West. They do not hold back. Some of them are a little bit more reserved and more respectful. But a guy said a couple of weeks ago that he has taken the money that he used to use for entry fees in tournaments, and he's going on these destination trips. You know, like he'll go to Lake Fork instead of entering a Toyota. He'll take that, however much money it was, and he'll go to Lake Fork, or he'll go to Champlain or SLR or wherever it is. And I like that angle. That makes sense to me, because you can't do it all. And if tournament fishing is not bringing you some sort of joy and companionship, brotherhood, then why not go do? I mean, we don't live forever, you know. We're on this earth for a very short, limited amount of time. And if something's not feeling right, and it's like, you know, what used to be like a bass club is now like turning on CNN or Fox News. I mean, why would you sign up for that? I'm not saying it's that extreme, but if you look on the socials, you may think it is. And it just kind of, people have a little bit of aversion to that. In my opinion, as well as the financial side of it. It's not even a BFL, you know, $200 entry fee. You go down and practice for 2 days. You throw your fuel, your food, your lodging. I mean, that can turn into $700 or $800 if you go buy a couple $100 worth of baits, because, you know, your buddy's catching them on said bait, you could spend $1,000 on a freaking BFL, and if you're not getting any kind of fun or joy out of it, you're not getting a good feeling out of it, why would you keep doing that? So I just remember like when JB and I used to fish the BFLs, the first couple seasons we did it, it was like a bunch of dudes hanging out in the parking lot because they used to have the meetings on site. This is like pre-COVID. Yep. But you'd show up, man. You hadn't seen these guys all winter, and you'd hang out and you'd catch up with them, and just a bunch of dudes out there having fun. And it's kind of, we've lost that connection because the meetings are via Zoom or some sort of format like that. You got to link, you click on it. You just most people don't even watch the tournament director before the meeting, but you've lost that human interaction that used to be there when the meeting was on site. So that's never good. Anytime you supplement that with more social media style stuff, that creates a divide, and then you don't get the communication. Now, I think that's one of the biggest aspects of some of the stuff that's going on in this country and the world is just, like you said, Matt, it's just lack of communication. People don't, sometimes it's a whole lot easier to spit venom than to actually talk to somebody about their feelings and be open about it, and not sit there with a bated tongue, not waiting for them to stop so you can fire your opinion out. I think that's so important, it's so important.
And the funny thing is, I feel like if you engage in those conversations with those anglers, I feel like in pretty much every instance I can think of, you get to a safe place with them, right? Like you're talking and you may have very differing views, but it's like after you talk with them, both sides are like, yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. Like, I understand what you're saying. Let's go fish, right? I may not necessarily, if you made me choose this or that, I may not choose your side, but at least I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And, communication is the key with everything, I feel like, but I do feel like the fishing world right now is not the safe zone that it used to be, and I don't mean like it's not a safe zone, like it's such a hot topic where it is like necessarily like politics or something, but it's just not like you were saying, go cut it up in the parking lot with your buddy anymore. And I think a lot of that is a hindrance. Like that's the stuff that brings people into the sport when you have that friendship building atmosphere versus a lot of what I've seen, which is actually one of the things that I loved about Dual Threat. Like Dual Threat had that, like everyone was just happy to be there. We all hung out in the parking lot and talked for a long time about what this is going to be like. But it really felt like a club event because you didn't have the sponsor banners around. You didn't have whatever. It felt like we all just showed up at the ramp and went fishing. And there was something really kind of nice about that too.
I think and Gabe knows this, like I've kind of I'm that guy that you just talked about. Like I pulled back from fishing over the last couple of years. Now that was, family resultant of that because I coached baseball and all that. But it's like this year I made the decision. I want to get back into, tournament fishing again. That's what I miss. I miss the going out in a team tournament with your buddy. What you just said, it as you were talking about, it's like fishing has become very individualized. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to go fish with you or you. I wanted to go do it by myself. And BFLs are going that way, where when we first started fishing BFLs in 2014, like we were struggling to find a link because there was so many guys wanting to get in on the co-angler side. Now it is 180 flip. Boaters are struggling to get a co-angler link. And it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary the forward facing. It's just people don't want to fish with somebody. They want to put their hood up and go down the bank with their head down and not have a social interaction and see it as a time just to, I don't know, but like a big frat just to make a couple buddies. Cause I got lifelong friends because of BFLs.
Yeah, me too. I've I mean, I think back to all the years of having co-anglers at whatever level, like the number of guys that I talk to on a regular basis that I've literally met, you know, or gotten paired together and we spend a day fishing. And, you know, and it's because you've got two people that are very similar in terms of what they like to do, right? I mean, it could be stamp collecting, but if we all love stamp collecting, we probably would get along great. And in this case, when you got paired together, it wasn't a big thing. And I mean, I don't know how many years it's been now at the top level where we haven't had co-anglers. It's probably been 4 or 5 years at this point. And it is different because you're out there all day by yourself. You don't have people that are potentially traveling with you or staying with you or helping cut costs. Like it is very individualistic. And I will also say that I do think at the top level, it should be that way. Like I do think from a competition standpoint, it should be angler versus angler, not angler and co versus angler and co. Like I do think there was an impact. But having said that, that is, I mean, when you talk to all of the guys that have fished whatever BFL up to the top level, we've all got like lifelong friends that we met from being paired with another angler. Like there is a portion of this that really does go back to having fun. And I think if people aren't having fun doing it, they're going to find something else to do. You know, JB, you were saying you were coaching and, you know, you had other things. You know, if there's enough negativity out there, or you're seeing enough stuff out there, that doesn't necessarily want to make you come back to it. It makes you want to find something else or continue to coach or do whatever. And, you know, I think it doesn't take that many anglers. You push a handful of anglers away, the tournament world of tournament bass fishing is so niche already that if you bring in, you know, you push away 10% of the people from it, and all of a sudden you've got a lot less people in the industry.
Yeah, that's true. So the burning season right here, he's been chirping pretty consistently all night. You said something about you got away from tournaments because of the forward facing sonar. So leave in the comment section, you know, they've made some changes this year in the BFLs and the Toyota series and the pro circuit, which, you know, the pro circuit's probably not going to happen for some of us, but definitely the Toyota and the BFL is an option. How do you feel about that? I mean, so obviously you don't like forward facing sonar and you've stopped fishing tournaments because are those 3-hour restrictions enough to lure you back in to maybe try them again? Because I think that was one of the reasons why, you know, Major League Fishing has limited the forward facing sonar in these tournaments is the people that don't want anything to do with these tournaments because of it. They're trying to get some of those folks to try the organization out again. So, you know, as someone that just commented that you don't like the forward facing sonar, is that enough to bring you back in to try it? Or is it got to be like all gone? You don't want anything to do with it, like MPFL style, or you wouldn't even think about it? Because it's been interesting. I know some boaters that aren't signing up this year in a protest of the 3-hour restriction of forward facing sonar. They're guys that are, you know, a big part of their game plan was using forward facing sonar. And I don't necessarily think that they can't catch them without it, but I know there are some guys. I mean, if I know them, there's a lot more because I don't know everybody for sure.
Yeah.
But I do know personally about 5 or 6 people just off my head that aren't fishing the BFLs this year because of that. They're just kind of boycotting it. And you know, that's their choice. But is it just going to be a wash? Are there co-anglers that are going to jump in now and fish the BFLs because of these limitations? They feel like they got more opportunity. You know, all it takes is, you know, you sign up for a tournament at Del Hollow and you're stuck out 120 feet behind somebody that's shaking a minnow all day. That's not a good experience for a co-angler. So I could see a guy that does that, like he signs up for 2 tournaments and that happens, he's probably done with it. You know, that was just like a bad experience. Yeah.
Well, so go back to that. Like when we first started fishing BFLs, Gabe, like, and same way with you, Matt, you had a good experience fishing a BFL. Or you had a negative experience. And if you had a really good experience your first 2-3 tournaments, you're probably going to stick around for a handful of years. Like You're going to see that there's some good to take, there's some bad to take, but usually the good outweighs the bad. But like you just said, Gabe, like my first BFL was great. If you get stuck out in 120 foot of water, your first 2 BFLs, like you might not come back for the third one. Like that was a wasted day for me. Like just sitting back there.
Unless you're wanting to go learn how somebody catches on forward-facing sonar.
Yeah, unless you're learning something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he lets you catch 5 real quick.
Yeah,
right.
Like I mean, that's the thing. It's that's why I just keep going back to like if you break up the sport, if you fraction the users, the anglers into separate groups, we're so small already that all you do is really push. Some people get pushed away. And I feel like we're so small already, we can't really afford. We're trying to grow the sport. We're not trying to push people away. and I do think like when you push somebody away, I think you've got anglers that, I mean, we're like the addicted gamblers, right? It's like in our blood. It's in our DNA. I will fish tournaments. I'll go broke fishing tournaments. Like it's what I live for. I cannot expect everyone to feel the way I feel. I would assume that, 80% of the anglers out there want to dabble in tournaments, but they're not sure if they like tournaments or will like tournaments. And when they come in and they dabble in it, if they have a bad experience and they get pushed away, they're probably never coming back. Or if they're coming back, it's not like next week. It's like 2 years down the road.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we just run into this issue. You always hear the organizations like, how do we grow the sport? How do you grow the sport? I mean, I don't think you can just have somebody sit down in front of a TV and feel what we feel when we're in the boat fishing. Like you have to go do it in order to do it. And one of the ways to get people is either to take people fishing, to have co-anglers in your boat, just that you gotta get people to do it. I mean, I remember when I was courting my wife and she was, I had just graduated. She was, she just started chiropractic school, and I fished a tournament out of Pool 14 on the Mississippi River. She was in Davenport. So I went over and I was like, I'm going to fish this tournament. It's a team tournament. It was a charity thing. You should come fish with me. And like there was always resentment in the relationship because I chose tournaments so often instead of going and spending time with her. And she went and fished that tournament with me. And I'll never forget, like afterwards, she like put the boat on the trailer. We're driving back. And she made a couple of comments that were like, I totally get why you love this. Like, I understand the competition, the feel of it. And she's like, I also totally understand why you're completely exhausted when you come home. And it was like 5 minutes later, I looked over and she was sleeping like the whole rest of the way. But it was the fact that she went and fished that tournament with me, like it changed our whole relationship, honestly, because she understood it at that point. Not that she has fished some tournaments since then, but it was just now she understands what it is that I'm doing. And I don't think you can watch tournament fishing on TV and understand it unless you go and do it. So like, if you truly want to grow the sport, you got to get people to do it, and pushing people away is not ideal.
Well, so what is define the sport, Matt? Is it growing tournament anglers, or is it growing fishing in general? Because I would argue that we're growing fishing in general exponentially every day. Tournament fishing, not so much.
I would agree. And I think that goes back to my belief that the current state of tournament fishing is a marketing vehicle and not a true sport.
Yeah.
I think we need to, if you want it to be a true sport, we got to run it as a true sport, but it's really about marketing more than anything. So from that standpoint, I think that's an issue we have. Like, truly, to grow it, I think we have to overcome the idea that we have to do everything to generate $1 or $2 from sponsors to survive, to we need to run it, everything from, how, there's a lot of different facets, but how you run the tournaments, how they're pushed out to the viewers, how the anglers are regulated. Like, there's a lot of different things that need to be done, I think, to actually run it as a true sport. and not run it to satisfy sponsors and sell product. And I don't have the answer for that specifically. Like, I just think in my eyes, that's something that is hindering us from truly growing.
Panger had, who was it? Scott Palmer on the other day from
the Bass Tank.
And he asked him that question, is like, well, who are most of your customers coming in buying, you know, the LiveScope setups and the Garmins, the Lowrances, the birds? Like, what is that? Is it tournament anglers, or is it just, you know, guys that just want to go fishing? And it's guys that want to go fishing. It's not us random tournament guys that come in. The majority of the sales, and I don't remember what the number was, but I was thinking like 60-40 split. And it was definitely not a 60-40 split. It was.
I mean, I see it with my YouTube channel. If I put a tournament recap video out, it generally performs significantly worse than just a general fishing video. And there's I get a lot of comments from people that just don't care about the tournaments. That does not interest them. What interests them is learning how to fish a spinnerbait, you know, and those videos generally perform much better. Now, I will say, like, in the case of going to Okeechobee, like, generally, if I do a Florida recap video in January, they perform decently because every bass angler in the country is like in Florida right now. So you get a lot of views from that standpoint. But in general, the feedback I get with my YouTube channel is, I don't really care about tournaments. I just enjoy bass fishing. I mean, you know, I think of all the people that, you know, that bass fish but don't fish tournaments. They might follow along with what you guys are doing or ask you how your tournaments went, but they have no interest in fishing tournaments.
Yeah. I think one more thing to add to this conversation is about the organizations are trying to navigate through the technology boom, and, you know, they're trying to listen to the folks that are complaining about this or that. But I think I'm just throwing this out there. Most of the time there's a silent majority that they're not the squeaky wheel, and they're just kind of sitting back watching things go. But they have strong opinions, but they just don't voice it. And I think one of the risks that somebody like Major League Fishing may be taking, first of all, I like the 3-hour forward-facing sonar deal. I really do. I think it's really cool. I think it adds an element of strategy. The same thing with the BPT when they made the rule changes. I think that's really cool. It's just another set of analytics that you got to break down. You know, it's another set of strategies that you have to deal with. I think it's great for the viewer. I think it's great for the actual angler. You know, you can get so set in a certain way that you forget about all this other stuff. I think it keeps you on your toes, and I like it. But you may, as a tournament organization that's making these adjustments, like this 3-hour forward-facing sonar adjustment that they're making in 2026, you do run the risk of alienating your paid customers. Like you said, Matt, your guys that are addicted to tournament fishing, and they're gonna sign up regardless. So you might be alienating them for some people that are just the squeaky wheel that are complaining, that may not actually show up and pay the entry fee and fish that tournament for whatever reason. You know, maybe they had a bad experience, and it's going to take them a couple years to come back around, if they even do come back around. So you're going out on a limb a little bit, assuming that maybe those folks will come back, and it is a risk. And I mean, I applaud them for trying to listen to the people and listen to what's going on out there and make some adjustments. But
I'm curious, what do you guys think from an organizational standpoint? You know, right now, like, if you were to look at the main organizations, you got MPFL, no forward facing, you got Bassmaster that's limited now to, you know, either yes or no with an event, and then you got MLF that's got partial use throughout the day. I'm curious, do you guys, and I don't have an opinion, I'm literally just asking, I'm curious, do you think one will prevail over time?
What do you think, JB?
I do 100%.
Which one do you think it'll be?
I don't think it will be one or the other, but I don't think in the future, it'll be more like an NPFL. You'll either have it or you won't. Like it's going to be the no holds barred league and then the restricted league.
All or nothing.
Yep. And I think there's a need for both of them. It's just who's going to pick what lane.
Yeah.
And then Nirvana would be, you throw all of those anglers in the top two leagues, the elites and the MFL guys, like, and you put them in a bucket and say, hey, where do you want to go? Like, you want to go left or right? You make that decision, but you're gonna not sign a contract, because we experienced that a couple years ago and it didn't work out so well. But you're gonna pick a lane and you're gonna stay in that lane. Make that decision. Not that that's ever going to happen, but there's guys that would say, hell yeah, I want to go down that lane where I can use forward-facing sonar all day. Now, this is something that I've been pondering on the last couple of days, not to like throw that completely off, but what happens on a forward-facing tournament if you're using it all day and it's a 5-fish tournament?
Well,
versus that every fish that you catch over 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, 3 pounds. Does that change someone's game up of catching fish? Because I can go catch multiple 2-pounders, or I can go target one 6-pounder. Does that change the viewership? Does that change the angler's perspective of how they can compete? Does that leave an old school guy not in the dust anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are all questions we'll see, maybe a little bit more clarity to in 5 years. I think it's probably a stronger tool with your total weight format versus 5 fish. 5 fish, if somebody wants to go try to generate 5 big bites doing whatever they can, that can be a player. One thing that I always revert back to when I think about this, because I honestly don't know what I think is the best approach.
Yeah, I don't either, Matt.
I think it's hard to prevent technology from entering anything we do.
Mm-hmm.
So if technology only continues to get better and stronger, and I'm not even talking in the fishing world, but like the youth that are coming up are just that much more technologically savvy with everything, that makes me think, like, if you completely shun it like the NPFL has, at some point I feel like you're probably your anglers are just not going to replenish necessarily to that. I think right now there's a really good strong base of NPFL anglers, because you have enough anglers that are my age or older that really are just want to fish without it. But as that class of anglers gets older and younger anglers keep coming up, I feel like it would be not a great strategy from a long-term perspective for NPFL. But there's always probably going to be anglers that don't want to use it, so maybe that's a good way to capture them. I just continue to fall back on that we're in a niche market and there's really not that many anglers. So it's like when you have 3 completely different circuits, you're just splitting the anglers up again, which I don't think is probably a great thing for any organization. And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer, but I do tend to gravitate towards a mixed format in some approach, whether I think as an angler, I kind of prefer the way the elites are doing it, because I would rather go into practice knowing I can use it for the whole time or not use it, versus the idea of like, with the BPT, you get one period with it. Because then I just, knowing myself and how I practice, I feel like that would make me want to split my practice up just to try to take advantage of it. Even if I didn't necessarily need it, I feel like I would do it. But I just feel like from a longevity standpoint, there's going to have to probably be some sort of incorporation in it. Like, I just don't, at this point, the way the industry is, being more of a marketing approach, I just don't see how the organizations are all going to kick it to the curb.
Yeah. No, I sent something to Gabe earlier about, it was a little reel that Hank Parker posted. I don't know if Hank Parker posted it, but Hank Parker was talking about it. And he was talking about cell phones, and that there was a bunch of old guys 10 years ago that said, I'm going to keep my flip phone and I'm not going to go to one of those fancy, internet phones. And you'd be hard pressed to find an old dude right now with a flip phone. They are by far the minority. My dad included, because he was one of the last great ones that held on to his flip phone. Technology's here to stay, and it's only going to get better, faster, and stronger. Like, it ain't going nowhere. They're not going to, there's too much money wrapped up into it. They're not going to shun it away. I think.
Yeah, it does. And it doesn't mean you can't limit it, right? But this is one of those things, again, where I go back to, if you ran it if it was truly a sport, I think you would look at it more from a competition standpoint versus the marketing standpoint. And maybe that would, again, it's not necessarily get rid of it completely, but maybe it allows the limitations or not. But the longer, as things continue to progress, it's probably only going to get harder to ever put limitations on it.
Well, hell, most sports are marketing machines anyway. Like, look at
but they do limit. They do limit like the tools that they can use, and
for sure.
I don't know, man. It's something that I just keep going back to. Like, I feel like we all need to get on the same page, not with forward-facing sonar, but just to move the sport forward. Yeah, everyone needs to be on the same page, and this is why. I mean, honestly, I'm a big advocate for one main organization. Like, I truly believe that there's a lot of confusion in the sport because it's so broken up and fractured. Like, the handful of fans that are out there can't keep up with all the tournaments. They can't keep up with all the rules. And, I think from a clarity standpoint, for the fans as well as the anglers, one organization would be a much smoother route from qualifiers to top level. And if you're in the top level, you're in the top level. There's not a question of whose league is the best, which as an angler, I mean, if you're at that top level would be great, because it kind of gives you the credentials right at that point to sell yourself. But it also means there'd be a lot less full-time touring anglers probably.
Well, there's enough people that are willing to donate $5,000 to go fish in a tournament right now.
Yep.
I think that the limitations that are being put into effect are definitely a necessity. As far as I think back 2 years ago when the Bassmaster Elites, before they made the restrictions on the screen size and the amount of forward-facing or amount of transducers that could be on a boat, there were guys like Koi Fujita that had, I think he had like 6 forward-facing sonar transducers. That's out of control. I mean, I don't care how like liberal-minded you are and open you are. That's extreme. That's pretty extreme. So that needs to be nipped.
That was one thing, like, a lot of people pointed towards the muskie world being, taking this step forward because they banned forward-facing sonar. There were, I think it was the PMTT, Professional Muskie Tournament Trail. I think that's who it was. But they banned it. And you never always hear the full story. They banned it because the team that won the event, it was a 2-day event, and I don't have my numbers probably right, but I think they went out and caught 8 or 9 muskies the first day. Jeez. And then the second day they caught, I think it was 3. I think they had 11 total. I think the next highest team had 3 maybe. And what they found is when they went back and they looked at the team had, again, I don't have the exact number, but they had like 6 or 7 or 8 transducers set up all around the boat. So what they could do is they could idle over flats or weed flats, find a muskie. And if you know anything about muskies, they're more curious species. But because they had the transducers all set up, they had the screens all set up. So you could watch the fish swim from one screen to the next screen to the next screen around the boat, and they would just follow the fish around throwing.
That's crazy.
And, eventually you pester a muskie long enough, you generally can get, not always, but you can get them to bite. So it wasn't like they had forward-facing sonar, they had one set up and they were going. It was like a whole boat set up to basically follow the fish. And it's like, maybe that's overkill. Like that's, you know, I mean, kudos. And the, you know, from a tournament standpoint, it's like, how you got to give them props for doing what they did, right? I mean, like they won the tournament because they were set up the way they should have been set up to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, did it push the limits? Well, it pushed the limits to the point they got rid of it, or they banned it, but it's not, you know, it's not simply just one thing. I mean, I know the year I fished the BPT, you know, what a lot of guys were doing at that point is they had 2 transducers mounted on the jack plate. So when you started idling around, they had, you know, and their 2 graphs that were on the dash, they had one showing this one showing that one, and they would idle around and just find areas and count dots. And it was just a matter of covering that much more water to become efficient. Like,
did you ever see that in person?
Did I? Yeah, I've seen it in person.
Did it work?
It's amazing. So when I heard about it, I was like, there is no way you'll be able to like see the fish on the 2 screens. You know, you'd think you'd just get a flash from a dot. It's wild. It would be like you get all of a sudden a dot would appear and get bright, and then as you idled away, it would fade off. But it was yes, it works very well. Like it's a very good way to break down water, especially when you're talking about suspended fish in like, you know, timber or something like that. You can,
well, I guess you could have your side scan right next to it, and you could really see, like, you can see the dot show up on side scan. You could see it show up on.
I mean, well, they would be idling around on their big motor, and with one screen would go to the right, one to the left, and you just kind of sit back and look, and it would be like dot, you know, they'd pop up. So you could cover a ton of water doing it. They're not allowed to do it now, but they
back now in your dual threat, you gonna put a scope on the back with a turret? Like
we've talked about it. Yeah.
Wild West, you can do whatever in that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I kind of don't even want to talk about it because nobody, I didn't see it at all, but so Miles, one of Miles' sponsors is Sniper, and they make a bunch of different turret stuff. So yeah, we've been talking about it. The thing is, like, we've talked about it. I don't know if we'll actually do it or not, but we
can leave it at that. I apologize.
No. I mean, I'm saying I'm surprised nobody has. I didn't see anyone doing it, whether they got to their canal on Okeechobee and pulled it out of the, you know, out of one of the compartments. I don't know. I don't know if we'll do it or not. Like I don't really have a problem with scoping. I do it when I have to do it. And if I don't have to do it, I don't use it. Like, so at Okeechobee, I mean, I had a big stick in my hand the whole time and flipped. But when we go to some of the other places where it could be the main thing, I mean, I could definitely see us potentially doing it.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. It's funny. All these tournaments are moving away from it, and that just like brought it all back.
Yeah, I mean,
forefront.
when I read it in the rules and they're like, hey, we're all for it, I thought to myself, I'm like, it could get interesting to see what some teams come up with.
Well, you're going to have it if it hopefully everything continues. You're going to have a team that has their dual threat boat for sure. Like,
oh yeah, it has one boat rigged ready for dual threat, because that's the thing. You start doing a bunch of stuff to it. If you fish other leagues, then you got to take it all apart too.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But some guys
have brakes in yours. Do you have brakes on your boat?
I have a pair of brakes, but I'm not allowed to use it in the opens. So I could put them on for dual threat and take them off for the opens.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean. It's been explained as Wild West. Like, you can do what you want, and we'll see. It didn't seem that wild from what I saw, but again, I could see teams hiding stuff too, right?
Yeah, and people might have just wanted to test the waters first, you know, to like.
Do they allow that in like the BFLs? Do they allow? I know for a while some guys were making their own little transducer mounts and using it, but do they allow the co-anglers to use?
Yeah, they do. So here's an interesting spin on the new 3-hour rule. As a co-angler, if you bring your own unit, you can use that unit the same time as the boater is.
Okay.
But you're only allowed 2 transducers in use at any given moment. So if your boater has a forward-facing sonar transducer and a 360 transducer, you're SOL out of the back of the boat.
Really?
Yeah, because you will be the 3rd transducer. But if he only uses like an FFS transducer, you could drop your transducer, which would be the 2nd transducer. But if the boater decides not to use forward-facing sonar during the duration of the tournament, as a co-angler, you're allowed to use forward-facing sonar the last 3 hours of the period. That's how the rules laid out. So you got to wait all day long, but the last 3 hours of the tournament, and you may, I mean, a good portion of that is you're going to be running back to, the check-in.
That seems way too confusing. Why, if you're going to allow it, why not just make it you have to use it when
I agree
3 hours that the pro or the boater is using it?
Well,
I agree. I don't know why they did that. That's
you're going to have some jackleg that puts
the same fish.
He puts a 360 on the front just so nobody can use the co-angler.
Yeah,
well, that's
right.
I don't understand. Like the co-angler should be limited to 1 transducer. You shouldn't be affected by, if they're going to allow it, in my opinion, they should not be, the co-angler should not be limited by whether the boater has 2 transducers or not. You should just let them use it for.
I know that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I didn't kicking the damn thing off in the lake and losing it. Like, I know it's all attached, but I'd do something to knock the whole screen and transducer, and I'd have $3,000
Well,
at the bottom of Kentucky Lake.
I've seen some interesting setups over the years where guys were like, they'll bring like it's all connected to a board, and then they stand on the board, and it's like all collapsible and foldable, and I don't know. I mean, wow. I get it. I don't know what the right move is, but I feel like if you're going to allow the co-anglers to use it, it should be they should basically have the same guidelines as the boater. But that's part of the thing I don't like with a lot of this is also, it's like you just keep creating more rules that need to be followed, that can be potentially broken. And it's not like people are intentionally trying to break it. It just creates more stuff you have to know to understand what it is that you're doing, which I don't think helps either. If all of a sudden, like you just said, you can use the transducer, but if the pro's got a 360, you can't do it. But if he doesn't use it all day, you can use it the last 3 hours of the day. It's like, what? Like,
well, the rule book is this thick.
Yeah.
And it should be that thick.
Yeah, it should be, really.
Like, if everybody, instead of looking for the gray, which every time that the rules come out, human nature, we look for like the holes of it. You can use it for 3 hours. You got to catch 5 fish. You got to keep them alive. You got to bring them into the scales. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Like, if you go back, I mean, not to get biblical, but if you go back to the 10 Commandments, like, pretty much explains our rules of fishing.
I mean, it really does in a way.
That's a good general guideline.
I mean, and that's where, like, even if you go back to some of the old school stuff that's been banned because guys used it to win tournaments. I mean, like the idea of carrying spare gas or chainsaws and stuff like that. I've always been one to be like, man, if you want to cut down a tree and spend your practice period trying to get into an area that may or may not have fish, and you're not doing anything illegal, right? You're not cutting private trees down or whatever. Like, I don't really have a problem with that as an angler. I think that's part of the fun. If you want to run so far, you need to carry spare gas with you. Right. I mean, I realize, like, I think with spare gas that, like, there is an issue with it not being a fixed container or something like that. Safety issue. But there's things where, I mean, like, if you want to get out of your boat to push a quarter mile into someplace, like, and then fish in your boat and then push out to get it, like, I've always been one that felt like I'm okay with that. It's not allowed, but I'd be okay with it if they allowed it.
Would you be allowed with more rules? Being able to change boats throughout the season?
I wouldn't have a problem. I would love to fish out of my little 17-foot jet boat.
Right. Well, even if it was a propped motor, how to be a propped motor versus a jet. Like,
I mean, I think you should be able to use a jet if you want to use a jet. Like if somebody wants to go buy another boat and use it for one tournament,
right.
I'm fine with that. Like I don't necessarily think just because I start the year with one boat, I have to finish it with the same boat. But I mean, that's what I understand why the rule is there. You know, it's just one of those things where adding rules doesn't necessarily always solve the problem, in my opinion.
No, I can't remember who this is. I can't remember who did this. You maybe you guys have heard this, but I was listening to a podcast. I don't know when it was, but anyway, there was a situation where there was an old railroad trestle that went across the mouth of this little kind of cut, like a little canal thing, and it opened up into like a backwater, and it was a non-passage deal. Like you couldn't get through because these old, basically they were like railroad ties that were sticking up just high enough to where you couldn't get across them. So you'd come in there and you look and you're like, dang, it looks juicy over there, but you couldn't get through it, right? So somebody, it's one of these old school dudes, man. They gotta, I could be wrong on the details, but the gist is right. They got a chainsaw and cut a couple of those posts off subsurface, like maybe a foot under the water, just wide enough to where their boat can fit through and slide over it. And they practice, they get on the other side of it, they put them back up and they practice over there. Well, so when they leave the day before the tournament, you get down there, it looks like you can't get through there.
Yeah.
They know which 3 to remove. They remove them, get back in there, put them back up, and they get to fish that water all day long, and nobody has any idea that they're in there. I mean, that's working smarter, not harder, in my opinion.
I mean, assuming it's like I don't know if you can, like, if a railroad bridge is considered public land or not. I mean, you shouldn't just go cutting down railroad bridges.
I think they got in trouble. I think there's more to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you know, you've heard stories of people like on the Mississippi River, there you get a big flood and all of a sudden you have these giant log jams. And the thing is, like, here's a good example. I fished a tournament in Florida one time where there was a canal that connected 2 lakes, a navigable canal, right? Like there were signs posted, no wake through the canal from lake to lake. And this was back in the FLW days, and there was a rule that said you cannot cut any sort of bush or tree or anything to access water. Well, I was idling through this to get to this other lake, and there had been a tree from the storm the night before that fell across it, and you couldn't get from one lake to the other because of this. I mean, when I say a tree, it was not a giant tree. It was probably like that big around, but it was right at the water's edge, and it was one of those things where it was like, could I power over this? Maybe. Do I really want to power over it to get to this other lake that, you know, I didn't give it that much effort, but I know you could not just get around it. Like the channel was 20 feet, the tree was across it, and it was basically just a pole timber. And I called at the time, it was Bill Taylor, the tournament director, and I said, Bill, the rule says I can't cut it down, but this is a navigable waterway. Like it's not like I'm trying to access a hidden backwater lake or something.
Yeah.
And the response I got was, I cannot cut it down. And this was back then. I used to actually I just had a saw, and like a little handheld saw, so I could have done it. Call Bill Taylor. He says, I cannot do it. It would have to be removed by, what's the Florida DNR? Florida
Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah, FWC. And he said that was the only way. So I actually called FWC up and I said, hey, this is across this. Can you send somebody out to do it? And I went and checked it. That was the first day of practice. I checked it the last day of practice, and it was still there. So
they probably answered that phone like, why doesn't this guy just?
Oh, it was wild. It was like, yeah, it was pretty much like, okay, we'll record that. Maybe we can get somebody out there. It was, I would be surprised if they even wrote anything down after that. But it was the fact that I was like, this is not what the intent of that rule is. Like, the intent of this rule is to prevent you from cutting train trestles, right, and getting into an area. It's
Right.
I mean, literally, I would be doing something to help the people that live on that lake to be able to use the waterway. And so it's
you
one
have
of those,
hooked up to it and pulled it away.
could I have?
What? No. Like per the rule, could you have pulled it away?
No, we're not. You were not allowed to move it in any way to gain access to waterway.
But you could have jumped it.
No, I don't. I could. Could I have, if, like, I put the big motor on?
Yeah, like legally, could you have jumped it? Not saying you would have made it over, but
yeah. Okay. You legally could have jumped it if you needed to, but
you know, thinking like,
But that happened. The reason I remember that story is because, like, on the Mississippi River, you get floods all the time and things get blocked, and it's like,
yeah,
you know, it's one of those rules. You're not allowed to move anything, but it's like, okay, well, the top end of the secondary channel is blocked now. I can come in from the bottom side and get there. So why can't I remove it now? Because this wasn't here before the storm, and it's still accessible, but you just aren't allowed to move anything.
It's
what
like
happens
an intent thing.
Bad luck in that? What happens in bad luck in that same situation? It happens, and you're back there in the tournament, and it falls. Like,
man, it's a good question. I don't know.
Like,
I mean, my assumption is they would say because you accessed it on your own, you could do it to get out. Like, I think that's actually
the rule, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I actually think that's how it is. If you get into an area and can't get out, where you have to get out to push yourself out, you're okay, because now you're pushing away from the area you fished.
So just hammer down, go through it, and then figure it out when you get back.
I mean, that's kind of the process. And again, this just goes back to, like, if I were a tournament director looking at rules, that would be something that I'd be like, I just feel like this muddies the water in the rule world, so just get rid of it. Like, well, I think
it could potentially create a safety issue if you had the juice back there and you're willing to, like, tear your crap up to get back there and potentially hurt someone, like, just because of a rule that you can't move a log that's over the canal.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the whole jumping the levee with a boat. Who's that? Poche that?
Yeah, he did it on. Was it Toledo Bend?
A rollover dam.
I can't remember. I think it was, or Rayburn or someplace like that. Yeah, and I think he got. I don't know if this is. I think he
public water.
I think he did it twice. I think he got DQ'd in one tournament, and the other tournament he was allowed to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember how that all panned out, but
I think it was figured out. That was Brian Velvet, Gabe. It was on a Bass Talk Live or Mercer, one of the two. It was Brian Velvet.
Yeah, they cut the train trestle.
Yeah, they did some crazy stuff back in the day, man.
Well, it wasn't necessarily like the train trestle. It was just like an old pole, like a telephone pole that was still in the water that impeded you to get back.
Yeah,
to, like, private water.
Yeah,
but the funny part was that he put it back, so you couldn't.
That's the impressive part. Like,
putting it back on there.
He probably cut it in a way so the post would just bend if you drove by it, and then it would pop back up. Like,
right. Put some hinges on it and some sort of like a big, like, spring on it. That's good stuff. Hey, so we're coming up on, or we're 2 hours in, but man, it's been good stuff. I wanted to touch on core though, core tackle. Like, what's going on with core tackle? Like, you got some new stuff coming out, or how's things going over there?
Yeah, we do. We've got one new product. Probably shouldn't spill the beans yet because it's not. We don't have it in hand, but the hope is to have it by the Bassmaster Classic. We've got a bunch of line extensions on some of, like, our wacky shots, just new sizes that are coming out.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of really good ideas. It really just comes down to the ability to execute on everything, if that makes sense. And from a money standpoint, we're not, we don't have the funds to come out with 10 things at once. So it's kind of one thing, another thing, and slowly growing versus trying to make a huge splash. But we've got we've got a whole bunch of designs that are, well, I shouldn't even say they're designs. I mean, they're ready for production at this point. So we'll get the new one out, which will hopefully be mid-March. And then we've got new stuff coming hopefully in June. We tried this past year, we released most of our stuff all around the Classic. And I think what we found was we felt like it kind of, some of the stuff kind of got washed away. Like it's hard for us to make enough content on a bunch of products at once. So we felt like it's probably better to spread it out this year versus rolling it all out at once.
Yeah.
But it's going great. I mean, dude, I love it. Like there's just having the ability to kind of grow and do the business side. Like I've always been kind of the business guy. So I really enjoy having this part within the industry. And, you know, we've been very fortunate to have the success that we've had. The fans and this, you know, the anglers out there, they've really adapted it and not only caught a lot of fish with it, but taught us a lot of ways to catch fish with it too. Because a lot of our stuff it's different than what's out there. And from that standpoint, you know, we put it out with the idea that this is how we would use it. But what we found is a lot of times we find even better ways to use it that the customers out there have figured out.
So that right there, that's
the strut head.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I've been seeing that pop up on the socials a lot, and that definitely that's good timing on that one for sure.
Yeah, and so that's kind of a good example of what I meant by release timing. So we released that late spring, early summer. And it was kind of, I would say, you know, that's made more for your minnow presentations. It's top heavy and it's off centered. So it allows for really easy rocking side to side, especially for your bigger minnows and your deeper water applications. But we released it kind of right at the end of the minnow time period. So it didn't really perform that great right off the bat. And all of a sudden now, since we've got the, you know, colder temperatures, November-ish, I would say, rolled in, all of a sudden it's like we are having a very hard time keeping them in stock. And it's one of the, so I handle the customer orders that come in. So it's always interesting to me when I get like orders from Elite Series anglers or BPT guys or top level guys that are not just buying one pack, they're buying, you know, $150 worth of strut heads right now. And it's like, well, obviously they understand how it's working. So it's a lot of times it's just about timing. Like you got to put the right bait out for the right seasonality. And, yeah, I love the core tackle thing. Like it is, you know, it's my baby. So it's one of those things where it's, there's headaches involved, but at the same time, it's very rewarding.
Is that a male or a female jig head?
So the design around it is
hold on. Who was the model for it? I mean,
this is, you guys are asking. So
somebody had to sit still for 15 minutes.
I was on vacation in Hayward, Wisconsin, and Johnny called me up. He goes, we gotta have a head that rocks these bigger baits better. And we started talking about it, and I was like, well, it's easy. All we could do is have a top heavy off-centered bait, like a heart design. And I literally went back, drew up some designs, sent it to Johnny. He's like, yeah, that looks good. We got the prototypes in, and I wanted to call it the Love Maker because it looks like a heart. And Johnny got it. He's like, dude, he goes, it looks like a butt. And I was like, what? He goes, turn it over. And I turned it over, and then he's like, it kind of looks like something else too. And I was like, yeah, but it performs so well. Like, yeah. I don't want that persona for core tackle, like the, you know, the innuendo type thing. And this was one where we liked the performance of it so good. And I was like, well, maybe people won't see it. Cause I honestly didn't see it until Johnny pointed it out. Well, it did not.
My perverted mind saw it the first time.
You gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Well, you guys just have dirty minds. I don't know what to tell you.
It just kind of jumps out at me. I don't know. I can't help it.
But I'm telling you, that was not the intent.
That should be your slogan.
It was not the intent.
I like the Love Maker though. That's good. This is one of my favorites right here, the Ozark rig.
Yeah, I love that thing too.
Yeah,
that's one
awesome.
of my favorites. If you're a shallow water like flipper Texas rig type guy, you know, that gives you a whole different presentation for a lot of your traditional creature style baits and worms. And I really, really like, I've won a lot of Wednesday night derbies with that guy right there. And if you put it on a worm like that, when it falls, it falls with a really nice vibration on it. So it's really good with your worms too. It's of all the things we've made, it's probably the more awkward looking one, I'd say, but from a functional standpoint, it's really good.
Yeah, I found I think it might have been last year. Maybe it was 2024. It's when I first got some of them. And I was having an issue around here. I don't know if it's probably like that in your neck of the woods too, but in the spring, the milfoil and the coontail gets like this really slimy stuff. I don't know if it's like a protective coating that gets them through the winter or something, but you can't work hardly anything through it. If you just touch it, it gets on your bait. And I was having problems. I was just flipping like a Texas rig beaver style bait, and I kept getting grass and that slimy crap all over my weight and my hook. And I found that this Ozark rig greatly reduces the amount of like slime. I'm not really sure why, but I did notice that when I started fishing this setup in the same type of situation, I wasn't having to clean off my stuff like every cast. It was coming through the veg, that slime stuff a whole lot better.
We get a lot of that. It's like that filamentatious, it's black and it like goes on the bottom. And I think the reason the Ozark works really well for that type of stuff is because when it falls flat. So it doesn't bury down in it. It kind of sits on top. And then when you pull it, it actually rises and like glides up. So it's different than a Texas rig, which wants to go nose down right into it. This just settles into it. But if you're looking to fish like really heavy grass, the Ozark rig may not be the right option either. You know, you may want a Texas rig to actually punch through the grass, because that's one, you know, there's been a handful, I guess, or one or two that I can think of where, you know, I've had comments where people are like, it doesn't come through the grass great. Well, it's not really ideal for heavy grass. Like, it comes through grass, or you can swim it over the top of grass, but if you're looking to punch down into it or really penetrate into it, just the way the bait is designed, it's not made to really get down in there.
You need to tell them to go to the Ozarks and see how much grass is really in the Ozarks, since it's called the Ozark rig.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like somebody should put some hydrilla or something in the Ozarks though, and it could be amazing. But it's one of those things, like our baits generally are not, I don't know, we build them more around certain things that we're looking for, which also means they can be more situational at times too. So, you know, under the right conditions, they'll really excel. But if you're not fishing them under those conditions, at that point, in my eyes, you're trying to force a bait to do something that it's not actually meant to do. It's like, you know, taking a buzz bait and slow rolling it on the bottom. It's probably not the right thing to be doing. It doesn't mean you won't catch fish doing it, but it's not what it was designed for either.
Well, I had the opportunity to look like I really knew what I was doing. A buddy of mine, we were fishing at Kentucky Lake. I was practicing with him, and I had watched your video about how to run the hook point through the top of the beaver style bait with the Ozark rig versus through, you know, the front like you would normally do a Texas rig. So I just watched that, you know, like a week earlier, and I'd been fishing it like that. And anyway, for whatever reason, he had an Ozark rig tied on, and we were talking about it, you know, and he's like, yeah, thing I don't like about it is when you rig it up, it's like, it's all kind of weird and I can't get it straight or whatever. And I was like, because you're doing it wrong. He's like, what do you mean I'm doing it wrong? It's, you know, you run it through the nose. And I'm like, no, give me a beaver. And he grabbed one, and I ran it right through the top. And he was just like, you know, it was like mind blown. So I knew I felt really cool at that moment because of your video.
Well, I appreciate you showing him the right way to rig it. And that's the thing. It's like, when there is a learning curve with a lot of stuff too. You know, when you come out with something that's a little bit different or unusual, there's an education aspect too. And I honestly think that's one of the reasons why Johnny and I have had success with core tackle is because we've got outlets with our own YouTube channels to really push that educational aspect to show people how to use it. And once we share that, the idea is then, like you did, Gabe, and you took it and showed another angler how to do it. And it, you know, there is a little bit of a word of mouth aspect to it, but it's, I just enjoy making different things. And it's always fun to design something that you may have had no expectations for. And you're like, oh wait, this is actually pretty cool. And it happens vice versa though, too, where you design something where you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. And then you put it in the water and you're like, it's terrible.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to give away $25 Baitworks gift card. Everybody out there in YouTube land, if you want to get signed up for the drawing, we'll let this run for a couple minutes before we shut down the stream, but hashtag capital CORE, all caps, guys. So, and Baitworks carries the core stuff. So if you want to go check out Baitworks and try some of the core stuff,
I love you do. What local academy has core tackle. So.
Yeah, that's right.
We also just got in 250 Walmarts have an end cap. So a little
we have you at our Walmart. So.
Do you?
Yeah.
Which Walmart is that?
Cape Girardeau.
Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, so that just got shipped out a couple of weeks ago. And we don't know where they all are, but I've heard they're starting to show up. So very cool.
I saw that a couple of weeks ago. I was down that aisle and I peruse the Walmart aisle every once in a while.
What was on there? What was like on the end cap? Well, like the Ozark rigs, or
I don't think it was Ozark rigs. I think it was.
Yeah, it's hover rigs, ultimate swim bait heads, the tush. I think the strut head is on there.
Yeah,
there's 20 total SKUs. I'm trying to think what I'm missing one.
The wacky rig hook or the wacky hook?
No, I don't think any of the wacky shots were on there.
Huh.
Oh, well, I think there were a bunch of hover rigs and weedless hover rigs is what I think made up a big chunk of it. How are you giving away stuff right now?
Well, just got, so Baitworks has been sponsoring the stream forever. So they just give me a code for a gift card. And that's,
so you're just randomly going to pick somebody?
Yeah, we're going to do that giveaway tool. Yeah, can
you do it twice? Because I'll do a core tackle, $50 the core tackle.
Heck yeah, we can do it as long as everybody out there that's watching's okay with that. You guys okay with that? I'm thinking probably. Yeah, we'll let this one run for 2 more minutes. We'll draw the Baitworks gift card and then we'll do a core. That's awesome, man. Appreciate it. Cool. So you got a lot of stuff, just like a lot of ideals that are coming down the pipe, right? I mean, with core.
Product wise?
Yeah, product wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just
why?
Yeah, I was just wondering. I mean, because I know I'm always amazed, like back to the YouTube thing. It's like I remember the first time I called you and talked to you, it was probably like, I don't know how long ago it was, like 3 years ago. And you just kind of started doing your channel. It'd been rolling for a little bit, but you did a video every day. And I was amazed at how you were able to do that. And you're like, yeah, I got a notepad and I've got like 146 video ideals right here that I'm looking at. So I'm like, I know you got like other products in the core line that you're just sitting on the shelf waiting to bring them out.
Yeah, we've probably got, I would say we've got probably 10 products that could go to market right now.
That's awesome.
And like not 10 completely different products, not like, different weights within a product. So we're sitting on a whole pile of stuff. Like I said, it's so much more about, I'm not saying we're not risk adverse. It's more about, it's this process of every time you add products. So if you come out with a new product and there's 5 different weights, that's 5 SKUs. So like to build the inventory on that while managing your other inventory, it's kind of a slow process, because when you're selling a pack of jigs, you might make $1 or $2 at a time, but if you make $2, $1 goes to buying more hooks and the other dollar goes to the tax man. And it's just like this process of, you're really trying to grow everything as a whole, which is one reason we're trying to be very strategic with the products we release. Because if you have a bust of a product, it really could hamper you. I mean, it really, from a growth standpoint.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of crazy ideas. If you saw some of the stuff that Johnny and I have made and designed, you'd be like, what were you thinking? But it's just like, you got to do stuff. What I have found is a lot of times you do something that's crazy, but you gain one little idea from that you can apply to something else that comes out to be fruitful. So it's for me, at least, it's a lot of tinkering around with stuff to learn what may or may not work. And I mean work in terms of like create a movement or a function to the bait that you might be able to apply to something down the road.
Yeah. Johnny's on that urchin kick, man. I was watching the little
that
Yamamoto Uni, the fuzzy dice type of stuff.
Yeah.
He's been playing around with that, which is kind of cool. That's like the next thing, I do believe.
Well, that may or may not be what we're releasing in a couple of weeks.
That's kind of what I was wondering. I was curious about that. All right, let's draw this. This is for the Baitworks gift card, and then we'll do the core tackle one right after this.
Look at this. What are you using right now?
It's the StreamYard giveaway tool.
It's built into StreamYard. Cool.
Yeah, right.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, you just enter the live stream, whatever live stream you're going to be doing it, and it does the work for you.
Can you run it again under core so they don't have to comment again?
I think so. Let me write this thing down. This is kind of tricky.
GGW.
Why couldn't it just be like Bill Fishing or something? All right, GGW. Get a hold of me on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery Fishing, 10 Horse Monty, or on Instagram, 10 Horse Monty 6, and I'll get you taken care of. Let's see if I can redo this here. I don't think I've ever done a double.
Just is the title of this has LiveScope push bass shallow?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't even talk about it.
I'm glad we covered that today.
Clickbait. It's got to be clickbait.
Yeah. It was on the list. I mean, I got it right here. It's on my legal pad.
We'll have to do it again and cover shallow water scoping.
Yeah, because it's a good topic. I mean, it really is.
It is a good topic.
Yes, you can. All the entries are there. Look at that.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll let it run for a couple more minutes. So hashtag capital. All 4 letters have to be capital. I saw some lowercase letters on there. We got rules, you know.
So they have to just type in. They have to comment hashtag core, and that enters them.
Yeah, in the comment section, and it'll get an enter.
Matt, you've been on in the past where we ran the S word.
Oh, don't say that word.
The big hairy man that.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
and I'm the one that has to go through all the comments because it's comment a number between 1 and 200.
Yeah,
and we picked.
Yeah, that's how you've done it in the past. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm cross-eyed by the time I get done looking at all these damn numbers and trying to figure out who won and who got first. And by God, if you made a mistake, they will burn you in the comments.
That's what the comments are for. They let you know. If you screwed up, they will let you know.
Absolutely.
Yep. The laws in the comments.
You guys that do YouTube have thick skin because I would start lighting people back up.
No, I don't. That's why I don't touch on the topics that generally require you to have thick skin. I stick to just throwing a spinnerbait.
Smart man.
Well, I don't understand why you throw that spinnerbait. You should be throwing this spinnerbait.
Yeah, well, and when I do a spinnerbait video, that's the comments I get. Well, Matt, you're not fishing for the win if you're throwing a spinnerbait.
Well, so I was listening to Mercer this afternoon, and it was the Zona episode, and Zona was talking about like him building his rods for whoever, I don't even know who his line is. Lose.
Yeah, I think he's Lose.
I think so. But he was building like specific spinning rods for smallmouth fishing. And he said somebody lit him up in the comments like 7.4 is completely the wrong length to add leverage to catching smallmouth. You don't know what you're talking about. You probably never caught a smallmouth in your life. And he's like, oh God.
Yeah, you just kind of got to pass. You just
but I think he lit him up.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Yep. It's interesting, man. Everybody's got an opinion. And I like that. I like it if it's typed nicely. I appreciate opinions, but if it's
I'm all for opinions when somebody has taken in all of the information. Like the ones that get me are like where if I'm doing a video and somebody in the first 3 minutes makes a comment and it's something I addressed later on in the video where it's like, had you watched the full video, you'd know that your comment's no longer relevant. But
yeah,
I'm gonna start lighting both of you.
I was getting to that. You just had to give me a couple more minutes. I was getting to it. Yeah. And I think it's it adds more validity to a comment if the person's experienced whatever that topic is. They kind of like what you're saying when you went fishing with your wife and she could appreciate how tournament fishing is and why you're tired. She's legitimate when she has an opinion about it because she's experienced it.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Run it.
Let's run it.
I would just sit and do this all day.
It's fun, man. It's mesmerizing. Good. We got a different winner. Thomas.
So how do you want to do this? Do you want them to contact you and then you put them in touch with me, or how do we want to do that?
Yeah, we can do that. So Thomas_01, just get a hold of me and then I'll get you taken care of. I'll send your stuff over to Matt. That'd probably be easier. Just do it that way.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Let's see. Man, I had all kinds of like tabs pulled up here that we didn't get to. Yeah, we need to get you back on here sometime within the next year. What are you fishing next year? Have you announced that, or is it still hush hush?
Well, I'm fishing Bass Opens, the Division 2, and then dual thread.
Okay.
Got thrown in. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I have so much stuff going on right now that, the tournaments, as much as I love the tournaments, they make everything harder. Like, they really do. So like the dual threat wasn't necessarily the most opportune timing, but it was, I just didn't want to pass up on that.
How about that? I just hit a weird button. I'm getting all panger on you now, switching stuff around.
Stop hitting.
I'm getting dizzy.
It's worse than that giveaway tool, man.
It's going to start spinning us all in like circles here in a little bit.
Cool. All right. No, let's see. Thomas01. Just shoot me a message on Gabe Montgomery or Gabe Montgomery Fishing or 10 Horse Monty on Facebook or 10 Horse Monty 6 on Instagram. And just do that and we'll go from there.
Yeah, if you get his contact, I can then reach out to him. If you want to pass that on to me, I can reach out to him then.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to do it.
That'll work, man. That seems to work out pretty good. All right. Let's go to bed, fellas. I'm tired. I got to work in the morning. That's been a great stream, Matt. I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us and
fun.
Sharing your opinion. I feel like you got more stuff on the pegboard behind you though than last time.
I probably do. It definitely does not shrink.
It's been a long winter.
Is that pegboard or slat wall? I gotta know.
No, that's pegboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm debating. Like, I've been looking at my room and looking at your room and looking at my room and looking at your room, and I'm like, I got to do something different because I have it all in like.
Well, that looks like insulation. At some point, it becomes like actual insulation for the room. It's so thick.
I tell you what, it smells like a bait shop. Like
that's the allure that I'm going for, though. Like,
well, you buy some Berkeley power bait and leave a few bags open.
Yeah,
I was thinking some like Gulp minnows, like spill that on the floor in the.
Oh gosh,
that works too, dude.
Yeah.
This is the funny thing with like this room is, my boys love to come down here too, so it like turns into like a hangout area. But like they'll bring all their Legos and whatever they're doing that day will end up in this room. And it's unbelievable, like the stuff I'll find that is not fishing related. Like, I mean, the other day I stepped on a ping pong ball. Like, just the room it is legitimately a mess right now. But I kind of like that. Like, the rest of the house is pretty organized. I kind of like it's chaos, but I could find everything I need to for the most part.
Yeah, as long as you don't step on the Lego.
I mean,
ping pong ball.
that
Like barefooted, I'm talking.
That happens in every room in the house.
Oh, that will light you up, man. Like,
and it generally happens at night when like the lights are off and you're walking from like the kitchen to the bedroom, and
you gotta get one of those Lego. You got a Lego table for them?
I mean, it's not an actual Lego like Lego table, but it's a table that's, I guess it's probably been built for Legos. It's got like a slot. It's a big table, low height for them, and then it's got like trays that slide in underneath.
Yeah, so ours has like the top comes apart.
Yeah,
and then the trays are down below.
Yeah,
we got the same one. That's they were playing on the other night.
One side is actually like the top of the table looks kind of like a little city, so you can build Legos that look like it, and then the other side is just a single color, but it's
ours is just single color all the way.
But do your Legos stay on the table?
No,
exactly. It doesn't. You have the table.
Well, see,
the table works great for us to pick everything up and put it back in the table until they go to play with it again, and next thing you know, you got Legos everywhere.
Well, I have one boy that's OCD like me, that if you get a Lego kit, you build the Lego kit, and then when you put it away, you put it in a plastic bag and you put it in or you put it up on your shelf. And the other one's like,
yeah,
Lego
that's
bomb.
how I have one that is, everything is like, he's the boy. If you ask him to help put stuff away, we just got a note from his teacher. It was probably 2 days ago or last week. Duke is doing great. It's so nice when I ask the kids to put away their stuff. He puts his stuff away and then goes and helps the other kids put their stuff away. My other boy, Hank is like the complete opposite. I mean, you ask him to put something away and it'll be like, it turns into, like, you ask him to put the Legos away, it'll turn into a basketball game where he takes every Lego piece and it's like, how far can I throw it from across the room to try to make it on the table? And if it doesn't land on the table, it's staying on the floor where he threw it.
Yep.
And then I'll look at my other boy who's watching that, and it's like, you can tell it's eating him up because they're just not going where they need to be.
Which the older one, the destructive one, or the
older one is the one that yes.
I got twin daughters, man. They're 17 and it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like
they're separate, they're opposites, or they're not?
They're opposites. Like one you can walk into the room and the bed is made, there's not a lot laying on the ground, fairly functional, and you can leave that one, and before you even get to the other one's room, there's a pair of shoes, there's a sweater, there's some pants, there's some socks.
That's exactly how the boys are.
Yeah, they're both great kids, but they function in life differently.
And you said they're twins?
Yeah, they're twins. Yeah,
identical twins or not?
No.
Okay.
No, but
it'd be wild if they were identical twins and they were opposite.
Yeah, that'd be even more interesting. That'd be like another layer. But yeah, you can typically tell where one of them's been because there's little like miniature projects that are just left randomly scattered through different places in the house, and we just
kind of like Gabe's boat.
We love them.
Random projects just laying in the floorboard.
My boys like to make jig skirts. Have you guys ever made like skirts where you have the little skirt making tool?
Yeah.
You got the tabs of skirt and you pull it through.
Yeah.
So you've got your little cylinder with the hook you put in, and you got the little point to slide the band up on. The boys love making skirts because it's like craft time. But it's so funny because my younger boy Duke will make the skirt, put all the skirt making tool pieces, so the puller througher and the little nose cone will go right back into the box where they're supposed to go. My older boy Hank will then make a skirt, take the pieces, put it together, and I can, without a doubt, when he's done making that skirt and Duke goes to make the next skirt, it's, where's the pieces? And then Hank won't have any clue where he put them. They will not even have moved from where they're sitting to make the skirts. But every time Hank makes a skirt, the pieces get lost. And we will spend 15 minutes looking. Nobody has moved.
Yeah.
It's like, where could it be? And it'll be like under a pile of skirt material. And it's like, how could that even happen? Like,
thanks, Matt. I'm looking for mine right now. I don't know where mine's at.
The remote control of the TV is the same thing.
Yeah, that is.
Like,
yeah, every
I
night.
put it on the arm, like the armrest. That's where it goes.
Yeah,
or
that's where it goes.
There's a small table right next to it. You have two options. They both work. Just put it right there. But no,
yeah,
it's like you just hope it's on the couch somewhere. Sometimes I've seen it in the freezer. I'm like, how did it get in the freezer? I mean, are the batteries still working? I don't know. You know, I'm just glad I found it before it'd been in there for a couple days and turned into an ice cube. But it's a random thing, and I don't know. We love them all the same, regardless of how they operate in life.
Yeah, you just got to laugh about it.
That's all I can do. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up, man. Thanks to everybody out there in YouTube land for hanging out with us and listening to us. We started with ice shanties and brothels, and we ended on Legos and remote controls.
I like it. We talked a lot. We talked a lot about everything other than bass fishing.
Yeah,
that's what I find like that's always much more enjoyable.
That's the good stuff, man. That's the good stuff.
It really is.
All right.